Here at Wrestling to the Max, we want to make your New Year just as happy as ours. So we're going to change a few things, and we have some proclamations of our own. This 2016, Sean promises that he will try not to sweat Sasha Banks so much. Yes, he has the restraining orders to deal with and things like that, but hey, he's going to do his best to have some self-control. When it comes to Bayley, though, no promises are guaranteed. This 2016, Paul promises not to lose his temper so fast. In fact, at the end of every TNA segment this past year, we've heard things like, "Don't make me go AAA Rey Mysterio on you fools," and "DC Land, you will burn, you will burn." In 2016, Gary promises that he'll try to be less offensive. You know, he's the kind of guy that says things maybe he shouldn't say, and a few things come out. You know, let's be honest, Gary's mouth has a hair trigger. That's why he really needs to stop saying the word.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Deezer.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling Max episode 176. We are the Ever Wrestling Fan podcast. Whoa, hold on, Gary. I forgot to press the unmute button. So, do that again.
Oh, here we are, everybody, and we are ready to talk awards. That's right. This episode is going to be geared toward our end of the year awards that we are, kind of compiled and got excited about. We've got all the votes in from everybody out there on the net, of course, from our Facebook page, and we are excited to go ahead and tally the votes and let you know who won all the categories, especially like, promotion of the year, wrestler of the year, and of course, maybe even show of the year. So there's going to be lots involved. We're excited about talking about each thing on the docket, but we've got some other things also included in the show. We're going to talk some quick hits like always. We got some news items. Yeah, it is the end of the year, and trust me, the news feeds are slow when it comes to wrestling news, but that's okay. We do have some nuggets that you may want to know about, and of course, we find very interesting. Plus, we are going to cover Monday Night Raw. That is the only review, actually, this week, because all the other shows are doing end-of-the-year shows themselves. NXT did one. TNA Impact actually had 2 weeks of it, along with Ring of Honor. So, there you go, guys. It's going to be a fun show, though, because these end-of-the-year awards are going to be a lot of fun to talk about. It's just interesting to find out what people really think and how they feel about each of these categories. So we'll be doing them throughout the show. We're sprinkling them here, there, and everywhere. So they're not all going to be in one place, but that gives you more incentive to check out some of the other parts of the show. So, but if you heard in the intro, that was of course Motorhead playing for you a little bit there. Overkill, love that song. And we just, sad news this week with Lemmy passing away. I mean, this guy has been a part of just history when it comes to rock and roll, but not only that, the wrestling world as well. He's been involved with the WWE, doing themes, of course, Evolution. He also did Triple H's The Game. He's just been a part. Yes, that's right. King of Kings, that's correct. So, I mean, this guy has been, influential not only in the rock world, but of course when it comes to wrestling themes, and it's so sad to hear that he passed away. Lived a long life, though. 70 years is not a bad run, I have to admit, especially being a rock star. Yeah. So, I mean, I got to know. I mean, Sean, I know you follow music very closely. I mean, you're a big music fan. I mean, this has got to be some impact to you.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite. Motorhead is one of my favorite rock metal acts. I mean, I've played their songs in Rock Band. Lemmy used his voice to help make Brutal Legend awesome, which is a video game. So he also has some ties there. I mean, just Motorhead is one of the greatest rock bands ever. They came in during that kind of new wave of British heavy metal, that kind of stuff, and they influence punk. They have so many different genres in their music, not just metal, not just rock, So, and it's amazing that he was still doing that at his age, still going out there, still touring, still doing all that. It's sad. Like after your birthday, you find out you have this aggressive cancer, and you don't even get to sit there and really fight it or anything. Just really makes me sad the way he passed.
Very sad, and I check out a podcast here and there, and I was very interested in what Chris Jericho had to say, and Chris Jericho made a good comment of, the rumor is that Lemmy found out that he was really, really sick, that he had an aggressive cancer of some sort, and basically not. But 10 minutes later, I mean, that's a rumor, but, not much longer after he found out, he passed away. And Jericho's thought process was this guy was like, I'm not going to let any disease beat me. I'm going to beat it and die first before it kills me. So I thought that was kind of funny, comical, because of the fact that, that thought process almost is believable with a guy like Lemmy. He was a force of his own. But, I mean, Paul, I know you, of course, heard all these wrestling themes, but I'm sure you followed Motorhead to some extent as well.
I always enjoyed Motorhead. They were a fun little metal band. I wasn't a giant fan of every song that they did, but their hits obviously were hits for a reason, and much like everybody, like getting an aggressive cancer and watching it burn through them, or reading about how it burned through them in 2 days is just absolutely insane to think about.
Yeah, it is amazing. And, from what we've heard and from people that know him, have been around him, have said that he was sick. And, he probably knew something a lot of people didn't. He just took his time going to the doctor. So, I just, have to say that, he will be missed. He's definitely one of the biggest rock legends out there. And he'll never be forgotten. I'm going to be honest about that one. But let's talk about something else, a little bit on a brighter note, if you will. Before we jump into all this other stuff, I want to talk about Star Wars because we mentioned it last week and we kind of talked about, hey, maybe we'll all get a chance to go see it. I have yet to see it. My life is still a little bit busy here post holidays. I had to go out of town for the holidays, so not much time there as well. But both of you guys saw it, so Paul, you just got to give me a quick review of what you thought of that movie.
It's a very fun movie. It uses the same formula that A New Hope uses, and I don't want to spoil anything. So it's very good. It's worth your time, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. I still have a few problems with it, but that's I've been heavily into Star Wars all my life. I've read a lot of the books that now no longer mean anything thanks to the Disney buyout, but. That hatred aside,
but I just got to ask this real quick. Did it really get you when it comes to emotions? Were you laughing, smiling, crying, all of those in this one film?
It certainly has its funny parts because Star Wars is very good with humor. I wouldn't say I was crying. I'm sure a fair few people did during this movie. But I wasn't among them.
Yeah, I understand. Sean, what about yourself? What did you think of the movie?
It was a very fun experience. I went on Christmas Eve. There were still people that were in there cheering and clapping certain parts of the movie. I thought that all of the new characters completely nailed what you want about Star Wars. They make that movie, as much as it does take from New Hope, they make that movie why you want to keep watching, honestly. There are plenty of callbacks and all that kind of stuff, but it's cool just to know that it seems to be in good hands going forward. I'm not the hugest Star Wars fan, so I'm not one of those that's gonna nitpick everything. I hadn't seen New Hope since I was a kid, and I could see when they were obviously taking things from that movie, and I thought it was fine because you had to have a bait. I think what J.J. Abrams was trying to do was, I know this is so big I can't screw it up, right? So I don't think he did any wrong there. There's obviously other stuff that you can mess with, but I really liked all the new stuff in there, and I just think overall it's just a really fun movie to watch for the 2.5 hours or so that it lasts, So I definitely want to go see it again.
That's a definite sign of a good movie is when you want to go
And that's
spend
what I've
the
heard.
$10
A lot of people
again.
keep saying that on the second time you enjoyed even more. So.
Hey, there you go. And I do want to see it. Trust me, and I'm really considering going and checking it out. I just have not had the opportunity. It is one of those films that I may miss a few things because I've not seen episode 1, 2, or 3. I just be honest with everybody. I've only seen the originals 4, 5, and 6. So
you can skip 1 and watch 3, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard varying opinions. I've heard you need to watch all 3, the first 3. It just depends on who you talk to, but I think I'll eventually go see it. I'm having trouble because I am a huge Quentin Tarantino fan, and I want to definitely see The Hateful Eight. So that's the battle I'm having within me. We'll have to see.
Honestly, I like that idea of that machete order, that whoever came up with that, I think that's actually a really good way to watch those movies. But we do need to, before we get out of here though, I know people don't listen to the show to hear us talk about ourselves, but we did have a Christmas, and then one of us among us had a birthday as well. So, Paul, how was your birthday and Christmas?
It was good. Hung around the house, got to see Star Wars later that evening, opened some presents, and got some stuff I needed, got some stuff I enjoyed, and
anything wrestling related people will care about?
So one of my coworkers actually got me a Money in the Bank lunchbox, and he surprised me with it while I was at work. And one of my managers actually made me climb a ladder to get to the top of something to go get it.
That's awesome.
I love it. That is great. Over Christmas, I don't know if you guys heard about it or saw it on YouTube, but a dad actually did that for his kid. He put WrestleMania tickets in a Money in the Bank briefcase and made a kid climb the ladder to get it. So
that's how you do it, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really happy. Your boss or your manager, whoever that was, it should have put your Christmas bonus in it. In that lunch pail. I think that'll work the best. So then we're going really old school, right, guys? Money in a briefcase. So anyway, well, lots of fun stuff. We had a great holiday. I hope everyone out there listening did too. But man, it is time for us to move on. We've got some other things to talk about. So we're going to, kick this thing off like we always do with some news. So let's go ahead and jump into some quick hits.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this thing started with some interesting news that I kind of found that, would be really kind of a cool thing for most people when you talk about fans in Canada. They're actually going to get a show pretty soon through the network, and it's going to be called March to WrestleMania, and this will actually be happening at March 12th in 2016 in Toronto, Canada. So there you go, guys. I mean, Canada has been asking for shows. I know a good friend of our podcast, Stephen Randall, often talks about that Toronto doesn't get enough wrestling shows, but they're going to get one. It's going to be a network special, and I'm just kind of curious from you guys. I mean, this is a March to WrestleMania event, so do you think that's going to be big? Do you think that they're just going to put a few highlights? I'm just kind of curious. Is it going to be packed or just kind of highlighted here and there?
I'm assuming this is going to be a New Japan sort of esque show where we get 6-mans and tag teams and all sorts of craziness, multi-man matches happening in between various competitors. But I think it'll be fun. I've enjoyed the last 2 network specials that they've done from live shows. So
yeah, I mean, I'm going to be looking forward to it. I mean, the last one wasn't as good as the Tokyo show, but they've still been good.
It's kind of fun for them to do these specials, for at least with fans, I think, because it is, something that, unless you have the network, you don't get a chance to watch it. And it's also something that kind of adds to the ambience of what's coming up in this near future. It's a different look. It's almost like getting a peek into a live show without actually having to be there at that live show. So I think it's great. I think it's great for Canada, especially the fans in Toronto who don't get a lot of shows. They don't get very many Monday Night Raws if they get any at all. There's controversy there, I know, but still at the same point, I just think this is great. WWE's willing to do that. So Canadian fans, I'm sure, will be buying their tickets to that live event pretty soon. I wouldn't doubt it. Let's talk about something else when it comes to the legal department, guys, and I think this is quite interesting. As you remember, Hernandez was, of course, on TNA when he was not supposed to be last year, and that caused some problems for TNA because he was still under contract with Lucha Underground. Well, to avoid any legal trouble, TNA had to basically block their main events for like 3 weeks because they couldn't show Hernandez or anybody else that he was involved in those main events. So that caused a stir, and I'm sure he did not go over well with Dixie Carter and that brass over there because of those reasons. Now Hernandez is trying to get back at Lucha Underground, probably for the trouble that they have caused him, or he feels they have caused him, and is suing them for an unsafe work environment. Now, to each his own. I mean, I'm sure some of the stuff you saw in Lucha Underground, you could say, well, I mean, that could be considered.
I don't really think that's what he's... I'm thinking it's more like he thinks they're taking away his right to work.
But see, what that jargon, it should be something else, though. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's maybe under the umbrella legally, unsafe work environment, but that's not unsafe. That's just taking your ability to have a job and a promotion. I don't know. But what I do know is he's suing him. That's the most important thing here, I think, overall, that he's willing to go and take legal action against Lucha Underground. If let's just take what you're saying, Sean, is what he really is trying to do, saying, hey, I should have the ability to work. Do you think he has a case here, or do you think he legitimately broke a contract and should not wrestle for TNA?
No. You broke a contract. They made it... I'm pretty sure those contract terms stated pretty simply what you couldn't do. And in fact, they told... Now, part of this is on TNA, too. I'm pretty sure they told TNA what the terms of the thing was. And then somebody after that they didn't know? Like, come on. It's just... This is on everybody, but this is certainly not on Lucha Underground. They made him sign a contract. The guy was an idiot, did what he wanted to do. The other company didn't give two craps, and if you know what, go blame TNA instead.
Do you think so, Paul? Do you think we should blame TNA?
Somebody is obviously to blame here, but it's not Lucha Underground. They didn't make you go find work elsewhere when you were still under no compete or all this other stuff. So maybe we should blame the education system for not teaching Hernandez how to read.
Yeah. I could definitely understand that one for sure. Man, of course, he can.
Something I forgot to give you, Gary.
Okay, go ahead.
We did the news. Speaking of TNA, Mike Tenay is apparently done with TNA. And I know we talked about this a long time ago, though, that he's done with TNA at the end of this year. He doesn't know if they're going to use him when they go to Pop TV in a week. Do you think that there's anything left for Mike Tenay? Like, would there be something for him to do in TNA? Would he work somewhere else, do you think? Like, is there a wrestling company that you think would be a good spot for him?
Maybe not as an announcer. First of all, certainly end of an era for TNA. The guy has been with them since they opened the doors. End of an era there for TNA. I think he has a lot to give maybe backstage. I mean, the guy's been around wrestling for 30 years, 35 years, something like that. So he's certainly got a lot to give to the business if he still wants to work in it.
I think NXT spot being one of the guys. I mean, I know Michael Cole is the one that works all the announcers, whatever, but having another guy like a Mike Tenay that has all that experience in NXT wouldn't be bad. I don't. I mean, just the only other thing I could think of is maybe they are looking for somebody to replace Vampiro. Maybe you put him and Striker together at Lucha Underground, but I don't know. It's somewhere else. That is viable where he would be on TV. That's the only things I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, taking Vampiro's spot would be just fine with me. But I kind of agree with you on the NXT thing, though, Sean, because he's got such a wealth of knowledge. He can offer those students over there in NXT so much. He can offer a lot to the announce team, even though maybe Michael Cole has the leadership there. He can still be an earpiece. He can still be a person who can lend some advice, and they can also use him in some other ventures. They of course need voiceover work, and they also need some other things done at WWE, and I'm sure he could be a big help.
He could help, if they wanted to do anything WCW wise, anything else WCW wise, or just like you said, voiceover work, or if they want somebody to be on hand, if they need someone to do announcing for old matches or whatever, and the announcing doesn't work, you could definitely put 10A doing something like that. I mean, so.
Yeah. The guy is not far from probably being retired overall. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know his exact age, but I could imagine that, he's getting closer to retirement than he is anything else. So I don't think he really needs to work as much as he, can take anything he really probably feels he wants to do.
Mike Tenay is 61.
Yeah, so he's right there. Right there. But, in wrestling, that's nothing. I mean, you work till you're 70, 75 when it's, commentary. So.
Yeah, how old is that? Well, isn't that Dodgers guy, like, in his 70s? Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so. So, I mean, it just goes to show you. But I just think it's interesting. I think it is sad, kind of like, Paul pointed out, that this guy has been with TNA since they opened the door, and to have him leave is kind of a loss. But they're doing some new things. They're going to Pop TV, and they're changing up. Hopefully, the theme that Sean hates so much will be different, too. So, we'll find out. But
am I the only one that hates that thing?
I think you're the only one who hates it so much to vocalize.
Yeah. I always assume it, sounds like a 90s pop band, but that's just me.
There's 90s pop bands that probably were insulted by that.
Hey, Third Eye Blind was pretty okay. I enjoyed Third Eye Blind.
Third Eye Blind is awesome.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and talk about something else that's interesting in the wrestling world right now, and that is the fact that Cameron put on her Instagram that she is promising everyone that she is progressing and that she is going to get better. So, I mean, I just got to ask this. Paul, is this something we can believe? Do you even have any shadow of a doubt that, this is just her talking, or do you really feel like she means it?
I feel like she means it. I think she has the potential to be a great character. I don't know if she has what it takes to be a great wrestler, but, I'm more than willing to be fooled on that. But from what I've seen of her already, the potential to be a standout character is there. Whether the wrestling comes along or not, obviously, is still up in the air. And I don't know if that's possible, just because I don't think she takes that part of the business incredibly seriously.
I think WWE has proven throughout the years that you don't have to, not everybody has to be the technical wonder in the ring. I think as long as you are decent enough, you can improve as time goes along, as you get more practice. So I think if she can get a character down where she can be on TV and get matches and all that kind of stuff, the getting better at the wrestling will come along. We've seen flashes that she's gotten better. She needs to just hone that all in. I don't think she's ever going to be what Sasha Banks, what Paige is, what all of them are, but you can definitely be a Brie Bella. You can definitely be an Alicia Fox. So it's there for you if, like Paul said, if you take it seriously.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious, to see what she means by, getting better. Is she going to institute some new things to her moveset? Is she going to, maybe work on her promos? I'm always curious to see how people feel like that they actually need to improve. So we'll have to, be patient and see what she actually does do in the future. There's some people in NXT right now that are the future, or at least we think are the future of the WWE, and two of those are their biggest stars, Finn Balor and Bayley. And we talk about them quite often. But WWE has their concerns about these two, and you wonder, well, why would they have concerns about two of their biggest stars? Well, let's take Finn, for example. Finn Balor, tours a lot with them. He puts his body on the line quite a bit in NXT, and they're worried about, kind of working him to death a little bit, wearing his body out before he even meets the main roster and does it on there. And then, of course, you got Bayley, who is extremely over with the NXT crowd, the NXT fans around the world. But when she gets to the main roster, how will she be perceived? They're worried about that. Will she be able to reach the next level of being one of the biggest divas? Or will she reach that level of, not really mattering when she gets to the main roster? So a couple of concerns for each of them. I just got to know, Paul, what do you think? Do you think that, these are real worries and concerns, or do you think they're kind of over-exaggerating?
I think with Finn, it's probably better to be safe than sorry. This guy is a surefire hit, I feel, on the main roster, even with the problems that they've been having this past year on Raw and making these NXT debuts matter after the first 4 weeks. He's not young. He's wrestled some insanely rough matches in New Japan before this, and he's had a long career already. So mileage is something I feel like they're probably something they should probably worry about. And if they want to take him off the road some, then absolutely, I think they should feel free to do that to protect their investment and the guy's health, and to watch out for Finn, obviously, because he's going to want to go gung ho every time he goes out there. With Bayley, I feel like it's a little unnecessary. I think she has all the tools to do it, and if they're worried about shelf life and her getting old, that time may come, and hopefully they're prepared for it. For what she's got right now, though, I certainly feel like there's a lot to be gained with Bayley on the main roster.
I think with Bayley, they're worrying about something that's kind of silly, because your main person, you could say, has really worn out his shelf life at this point. And I'm talking about John Cena. I think she definitely has the ability to be what John Cena is for little girls. I do think that you don't need to have an Izzy person in the crowd that is constantly there for Bayley. I think you just let Bayley be Bayley, and you see if that catches on or not, and it will. If you don't sit there and try to hamper her and try to give her things that the character doesn't do, and you just actually push Bayley and give her the same opportunities you're giving the other divas, she's going to catch on. It's just no doubt. Just what she brings is just too infectious not to care about. I think with Finn, I still have my concerns about the main roster. But as far as the physical nature that takes on you, there's no doubt that that's a possibility. It could happen for him. But this is on WWE. He's gonna be wearing his body down whether he works in NXT or WWE, the main roster. So it's either you call him sooner rather than later, and you say, okay, well, if he's gonna wear his body out, he's gonna wear it out on the main roster, or you give Triple H some help so that maybe you can give Finn some time off. Maybe send some guys down there to give him some bigger star power then. Because if you're going to have NXT do more touring, they need guys that can headline. And Finn is your big headliner, aside from Sami Zayn and a few others.
Exactly, and you've got to sell those tickets. And I think that's also part of the thing here when you're talking about moving these two up, because they are such big stars and they're such huge draws for those fans that come to NXT shows. So you don't want to make a mistake of bringing someone up and then not give them the respect or the limelight that maybe they deserve, and then you're wasted some talent on the main roster. So I think it's got to be a perfect storm at times for them to move somebody up, because if they don't have the right things in place, they're wasted. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, we have an award that will showcase exactly why this is a problem. As to, it was a landslide victory, and there's a huge reason why for that, and we'll get to that when we get to that award. But it pertains to sort of this, as to why you need to make sure when someone comes up, you have a plan for them, and it's not just, oh, let's bring them up, and then, oh, we might do some with them like 6 months down the line. No, you can't do that.
Definitely, I totally agree. So we'll definitely get to that pretty soon here. Let's talk real quickly, talking about NXT and some depth that they may need, or, maybe some new stars, new blood. Mikey Nichols and, of course, Shane Haste has also been cleared to come and join NXT. Both those guys have dealt with some injury issues, and so they'll be joining the NXT family fairly soon. Paul,
we don't know for sure. We think that they probably will.
Yeah, we're assuming, but I mean, I would have. These guys have been on the radar for a while now, so I'm just going to go ahead and guess they are going to be. But Paul, I mean, what do you think if either of these guys do end up on that main, that NXT roster? What do you think?
I really enjoy their work as a team. I don't have a lot of high hopes for them individually, but I don't think that's what WWE wants them for. I think they're, with what they have in the tag team division right now, two guys like this, and they're going to need time to develop some characters, because they're not overflowing with charisma or anything like that, in my opinion. But these guys can certainly work a tag team match incredibly well, and I mean, they're not hurting themselves by saying these guys and giving them a shot, because while I mean they're not a Red Dragon, in my opinion. They have, I feel like there's more of a character for them to build than what Red Dragon has. Because, I mean, we've talked about it before. Kyle O'Reilly, as great as he is in the ring, I don't feel like is a terrific character. And Bobby Fish, while I think he's the better half all the way around in that team. But together, as they wouldn't really make great characters. Where I think the Mighty Don't Kneel might have something, bigger in store for them.
Yeah, I'd definitely say, they were basically making their name off of being part of the Suzuki Gun, so it's not like they really had to have characters, per se, so, now they move into a space where you do. And, I mean, let's see if they can do that. Let's see if they can develop an identity for themselves, outside of, okay, we're TMDK, this is who we are, you kind of know us. Okay, once you get past that point, you got to be able to develop that, and let's see if they do it.
Yeah.
But I think this would be great for NXT if they bring them in.
For sure. I mean, once again, new blood, great talent is always welcome in NXT, and hopefully they'll get in there soon. Let's talk about one last thing before we get out of here and do some awards. Let's go ahead and talk about NXT Dallas Takeover Dallas, technically. Me and Sean have been talking about this for quite a while now, because we're going to be getting a chance to go, and so we're pretty excited. And they are going to actually make the set smaller for NXT, and they are going to actually fit more people in this year. It is not going to be a 7,000 population in that arena. It will actually be 9,000. Yeah, that's right. They're shrinking it down to 2,000 can fit extra. So that's kind of cool. I think it's great, especially with the kind of crowd you'll possibly have, especially a WrestleMania crowd in an NXT event. I mean, this is going to be great. I think it's going to definitely be something to be seen. I mean, Paul, do you think that was a wise idea? I mean, just because the extra voices, I'm sure, will make the show better.
Absolutely, and they know how many people are going to show up for this event. They know what they're getting into with this weekend, and they have every right to do this. They should do this because you want to try to make this as special as you can. This is the first time they're going to do a Takeover special before WrestleMania, and I'm assuming this is going to be a tradition for however long they can keep NXT going and as popular as it is. So absolutely the right move, and hats off to him for doing it. Sadly, I won't be there. I'll be going to the Ring of Honor show that evening, but I'm sure the 9,500 people there will have a great time.
Yeah, and I thought of you too. I was like, man, I really wish we were all going, but you're going to be going to that Ring of Honor show, and it is going to be awesome too. So I think we're going to have a little envy on both sides. So, but Sean, I mean, obviously this is going to be a ruckus crowd. I feel. I mean, it's not just the people locally; it's going to be worldwide people coming. I'm excited for just that reason, and them adding even more seats. This is going to be an atmosphere that I feel is going to be really electric.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, it's going to be one of their biggest shows to date as far as attendance. So, I mean, I'm going to be excited to be there and be with all those people there.
Mm-hmm. So, it'll be exciting. And if anybody else is going, let us know. Hit us up on the Facebook page. We'd love to know if you're going. It's just, going to be a great time and, looking forward to it. All right, guys. Well, you know what? That is all the quick hits we have for this week. But we do have something else we want to do. That's right. Awards. It is awards time. So let's go ahead and jump into this head first. And I will be mentioning a few of these categories and naming them off. And Sean is going to give us the winners of these categories because, of course, you voted for them. You chose the winners. So this is, basically your voice has been heard. All right, well, let's start this thing off right. Let's go ahead and start this thing out by getting into something that I think a lot of people are kind of, looking at, and especially Sean just mentioned it, the biggest disappointment this year in wrestling. Who was that wrestler who just did not pan out? Who was the one that you really wanted something from and they just let you down? Sean, tell us who won.
Well, it wasn't a wrestler. The biggest disappointment this year is WWE's lack of creativity. 11 people out of the humanity that voted for this voted for that. We had about 6 other people vote for Seth Rollins' big injury. You had Damian Sandow, ROH going to Comet TV, Sting, the way he was used this year, and New Japan's booking of their tag team scene. As some of the other big ones here. So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it plenty of times. WWE was rather stale this year, especially with Raw. It was a complaint we had all year, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know if there's so much we can expound upon because we've talked about it ad nauseum, it seems, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you guys... It seems a rather fair thing because you come in every year hoping WWE's better, and it seemed like they weren't that this year.
You could even say they took a couple steps back, I would say, as far as creative goes. This was, I think the group got it right. This was my pick as well. This year, wrestling, as great as WWE has been at presenting a terrific in-ring product this last couple of years, this has probably been one of the worst years creatively for them. And certainly one where you could feel like almost every Raw you were watching was entirely skippable, which is not something you want from your flagship TV series.
That's awful. I can miss this episode of Walking Dead. I just don't care enough. I'll wait till next week and see if I can catch up. That doesn't happen in good shows, and that's the problem with Raw right now. And, creative is the right decision here because of the fact that a lot of these other people do fall under, let's just take Sandow, Sting, both those guys. I would definitely have a vote for those situations because I think both of them were underutilized. I think both were put in bad positions, and I just think that Sandow was just overly screwed. But in the bottom line is, it is about the creative, and so I think once again, this is the right decision, and it's a one that I would definitely agree with. Let's go to the next award, though, guys. Here's an award that I'm very interested in, and that is Tag Team of the Year. Who got this one, Sean?
Well, by a landslide, it was the New Day.
You can't go wrong with that, can you? Do you guys, think there's anybody else who deserves it over them? Don't get me wrong. There's other promotions that would. This isn't just WB. There's other promotions that we're talking about here. You got Red Dragon out there, other teams.
it's New Day by like 25 over Enzo and Cass, the Young Bucks, Jordan and Gable, the trio from Lucha Underground, Red Dragon, the Wolves, which I kind of forgot. Somebody else had to add that in later. The Usos. But yeah, I mean, the New Day just won it by a landslide.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
great. I mean, this would be my pick as well. There were a lot of good to great tag teams going around all the promotions we were talking about this year, but the New Day, for everything we just said in the past award, these guys have been the exception to that rule. Literally carried the division for the 8 months of the year, taking it off of Tyson and Cesaro, and pretty much carrying the booking all the way across the Usos' injury and waiting for them to come back. And they just kept you entertained during their time on Raw. They really shined this year, and absolutely deserve this award for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what do we say every time we do a review of Raw? Like, New Day was one of the reasons to watch it. They won They didn't win Superstars of the Week, but they were constantly in our rankings for Superstar of the Week just because of that by itself. Because you'd watch Raw and it'd be like one of those moments you remember. It was something totally goofy, something stupid that they would do, but you would remember it because it was different from whatever else that was going on Raw. So.
Exactly. And Sean, I mean, I think about this too. Let's be honest, all of us have bought plenty of DVDs from WWE. We get excited about watching those old DVDs because they're great moments on those. And as of late, I mean, much of Raw and much of the storylines that they put out, there's not been DVD-worthy material that anyone wants to buy or even download from the internet or even just check out on the network. But the New Day is that. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, if they continue on this pace, I mean, they're going to have one heck of a DVD, Blu-ray set coming out, and it's going to be purchased. People are going to want to watch it. They're going to have those memories because they are good and they are important to fans. So, I mean, you can't say that about most of Raw. Paul pointed out. I mean, you just can't. I think it is the right choice. I mean, if you want to say it, the entertainment side is pretty heavy on that. I mean, we're not just talking about wrestling. So there could be some arguments against them because of that reason. But I think overall they've got the right package here. And that is, Tag Team of the Year. And, of course, once again, I love the New Day. And I'd be curious if anyone does disagree with us. I mean, I just posted on the Facebook group. I'm just kind of curious because I'm sure there are some people out there saying, well, they're not the best wrestling tag team. Maybe so. Let's go into the NXT category, guys. But
I definitely think you can say that Xavier Woods and Big E improved wrestling-wise because of this tag team. So.
And you could say that the New Day has been exactly what their name is, and that's a new day for all three of these guys, right, Paul? I mean, it just made these guys so much brighter than they once were.
Absolutely. It's a new day really for tag team wrestling, too. They put a spotlight back on that division, which gave us, what we got at TLC this year in this amazing ladder match between three terrific teams. So I just, sort of, the pinnacle of their year, I would say, was TLC for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, just curious. I mean, we're about to talk NXT. If we would have done basically a poll for the NXT tag teams, who would you guys have chosen? Just out of curiosity.
Out of the NXT tag teams, Jordan and Gable look great. But I think Enzo and Cass, for being there as long as they have been, the way that they have grown not only in characters, they show that they can be serious too. But Enzo, I think, has improved wrestling-wise. They've added Carmella to that and just become a great trio. And I think just everything that they've had to go through, I think, puts them over Jordan and Gable for me.
I think Jordan Gable came along a little too late in the year too. Not to say that what they've done so far hasn't been terrific or anything, but Enzo and Big Cass, as Sean said, took a great act and solidified it into something that has become a major draw for NXT. And one of probably their top 3 acts, and outside of, I would go, you got Finn Balor, you got Bayley, and then right behind them is Enzo and Big Cass, bringing people to those shows.
Definitely. I can't disagree with you guys. I really can't. I mean, Enzo and Kaz are so special. They've had a bright year. And don't get me wrong, there's other great tag teams. I mean, we thoroughly have enjoyed, Aiden English and, what he's done with that tag team. I'm blanking on the name for some stupid reason. Vaudevillains. Thank you. My God.
Hey, even Blake and Murphy were entertaining.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think there's another tag team that we're not talking about that's late to the game, but maybe next year we'll be talking
Dash
about.
and Dawson, man, they've been good. I mean, this is something that hopefully next year we can make this a big, huge spectacular, and we can have individual categories for all the promotions that we cover. So. I mean, I'm glad that Gary asked that question because hopefully this is something next year we will be doing categories for these.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
Gotta make sure we pay attention to all this stuff during the year.
It's tough to do. It really is, and a lot of other shows have people that specifically do that, and we kind of do our own legwork. So we'll do
if
better.
you guys want to do it on that Facebook group, or if you listen another way and you don't participate on the Facebook group, you can always keep track of that and email it to us at the end of the year. WrestlingTheMax@gmail.com. Always helps. Always helps.
We're not opposed to people, being a part of the show for sure. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and talk a couple more categories before we move on. Let's talk about NXT Call-Up of the Year. Now, this one's interesting because we've had a few here that I think have made some impact for sure. But who did the group think that was the NXT Call-Up of the Year?
This is the category that I said what we were talking about earlier will show exactly why WWE needs to learn how to do this better. Kevin Owens won in an absolute landslide because he really is the only call-up that has done something significant this year. When you look at Neville, when you look at the 3 Divas Revolution women, Kalisto, Tyler Breeze, Braun Strowman, what have they really done? Kalisto's just now starting to get something going. You could say that, Charlotte became Divas Champion and all that, but again, it was really late in the game. Becky and Sasha are starting to gain traction. Neville's starting to get pushed only because he accidentally won an award. He had that moment when he came and he had those matches with John Cena and Seth Rollins or whatever, but other than that, I mean, they really meant nothing. And he had the cool feud with Stephen Amell and Stardust and all that, but again, it didn't go anywhere for him. Braun Strowman's relatively new, and he really actually never stepped foot in NXT. He just went straight from developmental to the Performance Center to WWE TV. But just I don't know, Paul. Just Kevin Owens to me, the only guy that has had he should have won 2 titles already in this year.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue.
You could make a slim argument, I think, for a lot of the other people you mentioned, like Charlotte, who won the Divas title, and granted it's late, but that division has been very poorly booked, which is another knock against Raw. I think Neville has had some standout moments this year. He's had a couple good matches on the main roster. He got to have that match with Stephen Amell at SummerSlam. Granted, that feud was not anything really worth mentioning, but I think that match was really kind of neat to see. And that match might be because I'm an Arrow fan, but it was still very, very cool. And, really anybody like Tyler Breeze, nothing. Kalisto has that moment at TLC. And that's really about it. Kevin Owens was the only one they really seemed to have a plan for. And even that, I feel like, hasn't gone smoothly.
But I think people are willing to give Kevin Owens a bigger benefit of the doubt and stick with him because he did have a plan from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. They've also treated him.
Yeah, exactly. They treated him like a big deal.
Yeah.
looking at this, I mean, it's almost like you want to say Kevin Owens gets it by default because of those reasons. I definitely don't think that really. I think he's earned it more than it is just like handing it to him. He's done a great job, and of course, they did give him more of a boost than some of these other people on the list. So, I mean, you definitely understand from where you guys are coming from. I do want to, throw this out there, though. I really wonder what would have happened if Sami Zayn would have never gotten injured. Would we mention his name? But this
we
guy
might have been mentioning them together because
Mhm.
they might have been involved in their feud together on WWE TV, and it would have been great. But I think Kevin Owens he makes his role so believable, and that's what makes him stand out. Is that he doesn't have like this character that you go, oh my god, he stands out of all the rest or whatever, but he does his role so well. Like right now, Kevin Owens cares more about losing his Intercontinental title than Sheamus does for losing the WWE title. What does that say about someone's character or how much they care about what they're doing? Where you wouldn't even think Sheamus cared about at all that he lost the title.
I mean, even on this last Raw, he made such a huge deal about winning the Breakout Superstar Year of the Award against Neville.
Yeah.
I mean, who else cared that much about a Slammy?
I mean,
Maybe
the
fans didn't.
About his, I mean, so.
Oh man, it's true. You're right, and you bring up a great point, Paul. It's just everything that Kevin Owens is doing the right things, and I'm excited about him. And so I think you're right. I think he definitely does deserve this category, and it's one that I'm kind of curious who's going to win next year. We'll find out. But since we're talking NXT, let's talk about NXT Rookie of the Year. So, who does the group think that was the best in NXT?
Well, the NXT Rookie of the Year, if I can find it here, I don't know what happened to it. It was Chad Gable. He wins also by a landslide over Apollo Crews, who was the closest. And then Asuka and Samoa Joe tied. And then everybody else got no votes. We're talking about Nia Jax. We're talking about Dana Brooke, James Storm. Some of as begrudgingly as I have to mention that for Paul, but Chad Gable probably has had the fastest rising stardom of any of the new crop. You have to say, and then not to mention what he's done for Jason Jordan. He has made Jason Jordan about a zillion times more interesting and better than he was by himself. So that also shows why Chad Gable is important. But yeah.
What do you think, Paul? I mean, do you think that he does deserve this? Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I guess from the people mentioned here, I kind of agree with the group. I wish I could sit here and play devil's advocate, but honestly, I feel like he probably is the better of the group.
Well, leave it to me, Gary, to play devil's advocate, because I'm giving the award to Asuka. She came in middle of the year for sure, but she's been their go-to girl outside of Bayley to keep that division going. And her matches, she's had 2 takeover matches this year. Both of them, one of them, the stellar opening one we just saw at this last takeover against Emma, and a great outing, I think, against Dana Brooke too, back at Brooklyn. And somebody who I feel like has really risen super fast in that women's division is somebody who I think the guys in the back who are booking this thing really count on to deliver the kind of performances that they want out of the women's division right now. And if you're looking at cornerstones in that division outside of Bayley, the next person on that row is Asuka for sure. She's my rookie of the year for NXT for sure.
I give it to Gable for the reasons that I already listed, but I think Apollo Crews deserves mention because he's coming in and he's having to change quite a few things that he's used to doing before. He's having to be in a situation where he's grown promo wise. I mean, you got to learn much about him as a person, and I feel like, breaking ground has been one of those things that has really been kind to him as well. I think overall he's certainly come from one of those guys that was like on the fringe of being the indie guys that and then all of a sudden he's become one of the guys that you can count on to have a good match and be in a good feud. And I think going forward, he's another guy that you're gonna be looking at and going, oh man, NXT, another guy that is gonna be great.
Mm-hmm. It's another guy that I think the WWE has its super high expectations for, and somebody who I think they're banking on to carry NXT for a while as well, because he's got an NXT champion written all over him within the next year for sure.
Oh yeah,
I can't deny that at all. So I mean, Apollo Crews, maybe winning one of these categories next year if he keeps that momentum going.
I think we should give Joe some credit because he came in motivated, and he's come in and done his job, and I think right now he's really interesting. And from coming from a place where everybody knows who he is, and he didn't have to come in the way he did, and he certainly surpassed that, I think.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, if there was such a thing as a superstar signing for NXT, Samoa Joe was that guy. This year, at least last year, you could totally say it was Finn Balor or Hideo Itami, but Samoa Joe certainly filled the big name signing for NXT this year, and it certainly, as you said, more than carried his weight, and is really looking like the Joe of old, which is always good to see because that guy has had some amazing matches.
Yeah, it's just that we can't mention James Storm as being a bigger.
God save me if we never have to mention his name again on this podcast. I will be a happy man.
I knew it. I knew you'd say that. So, all right, guys. Well, that wraps up for this part of the awards. We have more awards coming your way, but you've got to wait a little bit because we got some other stuff we want to do, like Monday Night Raw. Yeah, that's right. We got to talk about it. So why don't we go ahead and do that? And after that, you'll get some more awards talk. But we'll be right back.
WWE Monday Night Raw.
Alright, Raw was live from Brooklyn, New York, a sold-out Brooklyn, New York in the Barclays Center. Raw started off with Vincent Kennedy McMahon coming down and calling out Roman Reigns. And then we proceeded to have another one of these. I thought Roman Reigns had a nice little improv where the fans chanted, "We can't hear you," and he tells them to speak up, old man. And, and then he gets really mad. I think parts of the segment were not what you wanted, especially the CM Punk chants that happened there, and the Daniel Bryan chant, which made Vince get very angry and start telling him to shut up. And later with the Stephanie coming down and all that, and the police. The police thing was just, I don't know. It was just silly to me, but the ratings went up, so whatever. I mean, Gary, this is one of those things that we're used to seeing the Attitude Era a lot. We even saw it with Dean Ambrose earlier in the year with him getting arrested and all that. And they made this a big deal. They had Renee Young go out on the scene with paparazzi and media and everything showing up because it was a big deal that Vince was in jail, quote unquote. And even Stephanie with her terrible, terrible grating screams towards the end of the segment there. Did you enjoy this segment? Did you think it did anything for Roman Reigns? Do you think it did anything for the opening of Raw, or no?
Okay. So I think when you're talking about touching on the Attitude Era, I think they definitely did that. I mean, I did feel like, hey, I'm getting a chance to watch Raw 98 because they're doing the same things, the same type of things you saw with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think they're trying to take a little bit of that luster from what Stone Cold and Vince did a long time ago and try to throw it into Roman Reigns. Maybe he can be the next level and, next big feud with Vince. And I get it. My biggest problem with it was common sense And common sense to me is when a police officer sees someone shove another person down, it's their prerogative, it's their responsibility to arrest said party, and for them to pretend like, oh, we don't have to do that. Oh, but we're going to arrest you for talking bad to us.
Not to mention the cop couldn't even read his Miranda rights correctly. I was like, come on.
It's
get
like
that nervous?
really, I guess I didn't even really pay attention to the cop himself. I just, after that, the police are saying they're not going to arrest Roman Reigns. I thought, okay, this is stupid. And that grin of his and all that. I mean, I don't know. I think that threw it off for me. I think if it would have went a different way, maybe I'd have felt better about this. But overall, long story short, I did enjoy the Renee Young stuff because to me that's what they should do. They should cover it like that because if this was an actual event, they would do that. They would cover it like a news event. But does it help Roman Reigns? I don't. Depends on who you are. If you're a little kid, I think it does. And if you're an adult who has a little bit of common sense, not really. That's just my personal opinion.
Paul, do you think that this works? Focusing on Vince for an entire show as a show-long storyline instead of something else?
It didn't work for me. I'll tell you that much. This opening segment sort of turned me the wrong way. And I don't need in 2016. I really don't need to see Vince, being dragged around in handcuffs and have this huge story about him laying his hands on a police. We're in a time and a place right now where they really need to focus on these other guys that they have around. And I feel like this episode of Raw really highlighted everything that they've been doing wrong for the past year.
Oh man, yeah, I'm right there with you, Paul, on that. I really am, and just to me, what we saw in the past was something where you could sit there and say, okay, it borderline ridiculous, but at the same point, it's very entertaining. Where this was ridiculous and so entertaining, and that's a problem for me.
What about the shots at Alpha and Sika and saying that he was, not too far away from a bone like growing out of his nose or whatever it was? Like, was this Vince just wanting to be racist? Or, I mean, I don't understand. Like, Roman Reigns is a Neanderthal. I mean, like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I kind of thought the same thing a little bit. I thought, I almost heard the PC siren start going off, and I was a little concerned for Vince. I thought, oh, here we go. Maybe those aren't things you say in today's society because it is touchy, but at the same point, Vince is old school, and I actually liked that part. To me, that was one of the biggest highlights, saying that he offered his family peanuts for working himself to death. That was just, to me, that was sick. That's a good promo.
That did make it personal.
Yeah, it's very personal, and it makes sense that Roman Reigns shoved him. I didn't have a problem with the shove. I just had a problem with the result after the shove. But besides that, I mean, it was pretty cheesy.
I thought Neanderthal was fine because, obviously he just, he got his lights knocked out of the last time pretty much for no reason. But the bone in the nose thing, that, wow. We really didn't need that.
Yeah. But you got to remember, Vince is 70-something years old. I mean, that's, there's no, I guess you could say there's no excuses for it, but, older people had different ways of thinking of things, and they weren't evil. They just weren't educated. Let's say it that way.
Guys, Stephanie is a mom now. I mean, did your mom? I mean, do you think that those are gonna be fond memories for her kids of saying, "God, my mom's screams just, I don't want to hear those." Like,
man, I'm 28. I still don't want to hear my mom scream.
Yeah, but Stephanie's in this segment were just a little bit. I mean, I think nails on the chalkboard sound better than whatever Stephanie was doing at the end of that segment there. Just, I was like, really? All right, Stephanie, we're going a little bit too crazy with this. But yeah. So we move along from that. Basically, what took up a lot of the show, focus on the McMahons, basically, to some of the other things in this show, which. One of them we kind of already mentioned already, which was the continuing thing between Neville and Kevin Owens. Um, they were gonna have a match here, and it ended in about 21 seconds with Neville getting one of those flash pins. You could equate it to a 1-2-3 Kid beating a Razor Ramon, whatever. I mean, it's not anywhere near that level as far as I think what you're gonna remember it as, but. The way that Kevin Owens acted afterwards would make you feel like it's that level. Is Kevin Owens the best character WWE has going?
I would certainly say one of the best. He's a sort of a throwback in a time where maybe we should be looking at more of a throwback idea. As we said earlier, he's a guy that makes the little things matter. He's a guy that cares about the things that are happening to me and has no problem vocalizing it, and is certainly playing the heel that we all want to see, and that whether he's right or not, he believes he's right, and that's really all that matters for Kevin Owens. And it's just, if he's the best character, maybe. Obviously New Day up in that rank too, but if we're looking at serious characters, then for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's up there. I think Dean Ambrose is up there.
Yeah.
Both of those guys, I mean, they are very good characters. They bring realism back into wrestling at points, if you ask me. I even think at times, as much as we have to hate on the way he's used, even Bray Wyatt to me is a character that you still want to know more about. The intrigue is still there. You still care about what he does because he brings something that is to another level. So, but I think Kevin Owens is right in that mix.
Ambrose did come out afterwards and kind of saved Neville from getting beat up. And they had a brawl out there. Ambrose and Neville isn't anything overcomplicated as far as the storyline, but it works. It's just simple and effective, right? Just one guy's mad about losing his title, and the other guy's a champion, so he's doing what he has to do.
And it really feels like it's trying to be a newer launching point for Dean to sort of strike out on his own and really get a platform to show off who he is again. After a lot of these sort of sillier feuds that he's been in. Not to say that his feud with Seth Rollins this past year hasn't been wonderful. But really, I guess I'm looking more farther back to his feud with Wyatt or stuff like that since the Shield sort of disintegrated in front of his eyes. So, great work there as well.
Well, speaking of possibly, depending on your opinion here, it was either not so great work, or it was great work that was not appreciated by the Brooklyn crowd that was here. Depending on who you read on Twitter, it was either great or the crowd was right on here. But Becky and Sasha, they each had moments where they got to speak. I thought Becky did a pretty good job in her promo where she talked about having a lot of history in Brooklyn, bartending and all that kind of stuff. And then Sasha doing her thing with putting on the Patriots hat and all that, getting the crowd to boo her, which is what WWE wanted. And then you had the match, and I think they obviously had a great finishing sequence, but there was obviously parts that weren't great. There was a lot of holds, and the holds were getting to the crowd, and they had some botched spots. I mean, I remember reading a lot of people that just really enjoyed this match. But where do you fall on this?
Yeah, I look at this match and I try so hard to, be unbiased and just kind of watch it for what it is. And I think that, I looked at it as an okay match, but nothing over spectacular. And what I mean by bias is because I want both of these women to succeed. I was a big fan of them in NXT. I feel like they've got so much talent. But what took me out of this match a little bit is that to an aspect, because I felt like, man, I know they have more to offer. I just know it. I just know they're not allowed to give more than they're giving right now. So that's a disappointment. It really, really is. And maybe that's what hinders me from really enjoying this match, and probably what hinders a lot of people from saying it was a good match. It wasn't a bad match, just was not the most entertaining, I guess, at times. It just, to me personally, it kind of just was average.
Yeah, and the last time we saw these two hook up, obviously, was on a large NXT Takeover stage where they put on just an amazing match. But this clearly isn't the opportunity for them to go all out against each other. But that's still no excuse for some of the stuff we got. I mean, botch spots, they happen. I'm not too terribly miffed about that, but there's not really an excuse for them sort of taking the night off, it felt like, and just going hold for hold with no real psychology to it, because it just sort of was them sitting in holds until the finishing sequence is what it felt like.
Yeah, and the finishing sequence was cool. That was the best part of the match, but it was just like the way we got there. There was no build up to that at all. It was just like, oh, okay, now we're getting into our finishers that are submissions, and okay, whatever. Just I kind of agree with the crowd on that. Why they kind of turned on it, because they know these two are capable of delivering better, and they just didn't. So we do have more tag team storyline going here with the Lucha Dragons against New Day, with Kofi Kingston and Big E taking the honors as far as matches you'd expect, since Xavier Woods is more like the manager of the two. Kalisto wins his match against Kofi Kingston. Big E winds up winning his match against a Sin Cara that winds up dislocating his shoulder on a fall that, he protected himself a little bit, but trying to land on your shoulder is never a good thing. Don't land on your shoulder. That's why you land on your back. Had he not put his shoulder in the position where he did, he might have actually just completely shattered it. So what he did might have actually saved him some big time rehab. But it's kind of unfortunate because Unico has actually been relatively injury free for the most part of his career. So, kind of sucks to see that happen for him. But New Day obviously were hilarious at the beginning with their promo. Kofi going a little bit crazy with the "we're gonna go find your kids" and all that. I don't know about that, but you can definitely tell that Kalisto is the guy that they were trying to push here. Sort of like what they're kind of doing with Neville. They both won awards, so WWE feels like let's kind of try to take advantage of that a little bit. Do you think this is going to do something for Kalisto, though?
I really hope so. They're in the right place at the right time. The New Day really hasn't been any hotter, and he's coming out of a match where he had a star-making move, at the very least, if not a performance, that is going to be in the minds of people for a long time. So if they were ever going to capitalize on Kalisto, now would be a good time to do so.
Gary?
Yeah, I'm right there with Paul on that. Kalisto's a guy that has had a lot of potential. Now he's finally getting a chance to show it. And so, he's doing a good job, and I think he deserves some praise.
Does it say anything that Kofi Kingston's still losing?
It's part of the gimmick if you ask me, but yeah, I know it is kind of weird because you expect a lot out of the guy, and then, they're still letting him take the pin.
It's also part of the angle, too. One had to win, one had to lose. I don't think it really mattered at the end of the day who it was, but Kalisto getting the win probably matters more than whoever whichever New Day component was taking the fall for him.
Do you feel like Hunikara is a worthy tag partner for Kalisto? Do you think he carries his end? I feel like he's improved as a wrestler just in this time with him.
I think he carries his end in so much as he knows the team isn't so much a vehicle for him. It is a vehicle for Kalisto. And whether that ends with him still having a job 5 years down the road, maybe, this matters for. But I would certainly agree with you that he has grown as a wrestler. But I certainly think he holds his end of the bargain too, because he knows, in so much as he's here to do a job, he's here to make his partner look even better. So,
Kerry, would you say that Big E is in fact the star of the New Day, or is Xavier Woods takes all the attention?
I think Big E is a big star, but for me personally, Xavier Woods, even though they share the mic, all three of them pretty much share the mic, I still feel like Xavier's the guy. I really do. I mean, if there's anybody that would be considered the manager of this group, it would be Xavier Woods, and sort of the mouthpiece at times. I feel like, Big E does a great job, though, no doubt about it, and these guys do share it quite a bit. But for me personally, I really feel like Xavier's the bigger star, only when it comes to mics and all that.
Miz TV is now officially the biggest waste of time on WWE TV anytime it's on.
Is this a true or false? Because I'm going to go with the true.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I'm asking here.
Paul, any disagreements today? I'm going true.
No, I mean, as much as I love Zack Ryder, I don't think anybody else gave a hoot. And, Truth, Slater, and Big Show
that joke
certainly
was already done. I mean, don't overkill the joke. Once was enough. I mean, that's why nobody reacted, because the joke's not funny a second time. It's just like, come on. And, I mean, could you really imagine Big Show being number one here? Like, is there really a story to tell with the Big Show at this point? Like, can they really do anything with him that's going to make people not chant, please retire, other than telling him to retire?
Yeah, I was about to say, outside of a last run storyline, I don't know. Unless they have somebody out there that maybe you want to throw him in a tag team with, because that was really the last time I was interested in Show Miz and Jericho.
Oh, God, Jericho was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of those things that it was supposed to be, Jericho and Edge, and then Jericho just happened, and it just turned out to be one of the best things Big Show ever did,
Mm-hmm.
And then, God, they turned this thing into an even bigger waste of time with Ryback and Big Show having a match no one wanted to see. Just, can we end this pairing already?
I was about to say, I feel like we've seen this on 12 episodes of Raw, and that's probably me being on the more conservative end.
Yeah. I think you're right, Paul, on that. I really do, and it's not something I care to see anyway.
The League of Nations has all of a sudden become this thing you don't care about at all. No matter what permutation of match they put them in.
Its purpose is over. It was a short-term stable to throw the belt and stack the odds in Roman Reigns' favor, and it's very quickly run its course. It's over. It's done. But WWE, I don't think has gotten the message yet.
It's mind-boggling that they don't realize that this team does not matter at all to anyone. I don't think that people are clamoring to go buy the League of Nations shirts, or to try to find any merchandise glued to those guys. I don't know, man. It amazes me they haven't figured it out, Paul. I think we were done 3 weeks ago, and they feel like we're not even to the point where we're hating him, because we already do.
Well, hey, At least they did have the entertaining part with Kevin Owens and Ambrose there. You know, is that's what you cared about that entire thing, right? It wasn't the match; it was the stuff with Owens and Ambrose.
Right. And I mean, really, Kevin Owens doesn't even feel like he's a part of the League of Nations, if he's supposed to be. And maybe he's distancing himself for a reason, because he knows everybody else hates this shit too.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I know. I mean, it is super weird that this is even continuing on. I hope the new year it's over. I hope they just disband them soon.
Well, speaking of something I thought I'd hate, but somehow I wound up liking it. Would you say that John Cena and Alberto Del Rio have a sneaky kind of chemistry with each other?
Yes. Del Rio certainly looked more motivated here. And maybe that's just because he knows Cena's top guy and stuff like that. And
John Cena seems to be doing that a lot with people.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just the aura that Cena's brought with him this year. Because, if you can make a statement here against him, maybe you got something else in your future for you. And I don't know, I certainly wasn't excited for this match, but I certainly was into it by the end.
Do you think, Gary, we'll see Cena with the U.S. title again? Or
I think there is a great point to that. I think that he will eventually. This whole U.S. title run with him has been so successful. People have enjoyed it. People have actually enjoyed John Cena instead of just hating everything he does. Those Monday Night Raws where he was defending the title night in and night out, I mean, they worked. I think that they did do something for people's excitement on who's going to come and face John Cena on this Monday Night Raw. So yeah, I think that there is. And now, I mean, I know the title picture is somewhere down the line for him again, but right now with the way Roman Reigns is going and what they've got going in that direction, I don't see Cena back in that picture just yet. So yeah, I do feel like that he's definitely in the hunt and has the opportunity for that U.S. title.
WWE is doing a smart thing by 2 weeks in a row starting to book main events for the next show on the show before. Do you think that really does that draw you into watching Raw the next week?
I think it certainly gives you a reason maybe to want to watch next week. I really enjoy the Reigns and Sheamus match pairing, even though the feud hasn't been terrific.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen Vince as a special referee.
That certainly adds an element to it, and I'm going to watch either way. But I think for maybe casual fans or for just people who want something to feed into next week to have an idea, I think it certainly brings a lot to the table. And any reason they give you to watch the next week's show with bookings like this is a good thing.
Gary, is Roman Reigns still a terrible friend? I mean, he never comes out to save Ambrose, but he comes out to save John Cena. I mean,
yeah, he is. He's a brown noser. He wants to be in John Cena's spot.
He called Vince a jerk. He's a pretty big jerk himself. I mean,
yeah. Now you make a great point there. That is. Once again, creative's fault. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. You got to go with those inconsistencies. So yeah, if you want to go by that, yeah, sure, he is a terrible friend.
WWE was wrong in not having the real Mr. McDavid be there as the lawyer. Yes or no?
No, I don't know if I really care.
He's an older guy, much older guy, that he's certainly not a 30-year-old dude that they had in that thing there with Vince.
All
does it matter to you? Because to me, I mean, it's not a big enough deal.
It did matter to me either. Oh, excuse me. Frankly, the reference kind of goes over my head a little, but it might just be because I'm tired.
He's like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm really.
Uh, well, Gary, I mean, are you excited by this match that's gonna set to happen next week? Then
You know what? Not that I'm excited. I'm interested. I think that's a better word for it. Just because of the fact that I want to see how Roman Reigns overcomes this. Of course, with Vince being the special guest referee, how is that going to work out? Excuse me. And I'm also interested in seeing, how Mr. McMahon looks at, in that referee outfit at 70 years old. So that's about it.
He's gonna be cut.
Oh
So
yeah.
he's still gonna be wearing the sleeveless one.
Yep.
'Cause he wants to show off his guns and whatever. Which is still gonna be really awkward, but whatever works for you there, Vince. So we can't leave without talking about the famous Instagram video that was posted by one Dwayne Johnson about appearing at WrestleMania 32. Couldn't they have done something else besides showing a video that was posted on Instagram? I mean, seems kind of like a throwaway thing for such a big announcement. I mean,
Yeah, they could have done more, but really, I think with the way the WWE is thinking, The Rock is that guy where hey, he's going to be here, and people are going to buy tickets based just for that. I truly believe that. I mean, granted, I really hope it's not in a wrestling capacity, but if it is, it's certainly better not be anything against the main event scene, because nothing will get on my bad side more than The Rock being in my main event scene.
we know how Paul feels about that.
See, I told you guys, this guy has a temper problem. So I'm just telling you. No, I mean, I think that they really should have done something a little bit different. To me, that was kind of lazy. A beautiful package. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed the video package. Once again, that's.
Wait, so you're saying you wanted some of the people's strudel, Gary? Is that what?
Me and that strudel. Oh, yeah.
You were talking about packages. I'm just asking.
Hey, I've been talking about Big E's package. I'm talking about The Rock's package. Let's get on. But no, really, let's be honest though. I mean, I just think that The Rock could have took some time, maybe said a few things, and then basically revealed he was going to be there. Or if you don't want to do that, you want to do some more mystery, have it to be something where people don't know what this is about. Have The Rock walk around, do something, or maybe even just show some kind of symbolism to show, hey, he's going to be at WrestleMania 32. I just don't know if I like just the video package alone. I mean, it was okay. It's fine what it is. I just think they could have done something.
Perhaps the best thing was Byron Saxton trying to do the If You Smell, and Michael Cole looking like one of those, just no, man. No.
Oh, man.
It was weird seeing Michael Cole basically tell himself not to do something. Because that would be a total Michael Cole thing to do.
It would be. It really. It's just so sad. I mean, I just wish for one day, which is WrestleMania, that when The Raw comes back backstage, I just wish for one day WWE could, pay and make an agreement with Ring of Honor and have Kevin Kelly come backstage. I just wish that could happen. But
they just need to have like a segment where like he disses Kevin Kelly, Coach, and Michael Cole, all like just in 3 different backstage segments. That would be great.
I miss it. Oh, I do.
But well, we can't miss rating this Raw though. Last Raw 2015. How do you think it went?
5.
Man, we're just getting into those numbers, huh?
Yeah, Paul, you're being too polite. I got a 4.
I feel like I might have been being too polite.
Yeah. I mean, just let's be honest. What really happened on this show to really excite you, to really get you to think that, man, this is going somewhere? I just can't think of anything.
No? I mean, we can maybe get excited about WrestleMania with The Rock, and then I guess John Cena Del Rio for the U.S. title is going to happen again down the road, which that was kind of dumb. They could have just had either you change the title or you don't on this show. And, like, to me, just Big Show is in the Royal Rumble. Okay, well, everything else is just kind of... I'm excited for Ambrose and Owens. I think that's about the only thing I got excited about from this. But
yeah. So, I mean, and like you said, not much to get thrilled about. I mean, what did you give it, Sean?
I'll say a 5 there, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right there. So, all right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and jump into some more awards. That's right. We got more for you, and we are going to go ahead and hit up some more categories. We talked about Monday Night Raw, so we got to talk about commentary, and we've got to talk about who is the best commentary team of 2015. Who won this one, Sean?
The best commentary team of 2015, once again by a landslide, is Rich Brennan and Corey Graves from NXT. Well, this one wasn't too much of a landslide, but the next closest one was Matt Striker and Vampiro from Lucha Underground. And then you had quite a few more of the New Japan contingent with Mauro Ranallo and Josh Barnett. And somehow Josh Matthews and Pope got a vote. I feel like somebody was trolling on that, but...
They had to be right. No, I mean, I don't think that's a bad choice. I really enjoy that team. I really do, and I feel like they do a great job.
Corey Graves is amazing. Let's just say that. Like, he's fantastic. Rich Brennan is good at what he does. I think he certainly could perhaps take Michael Cole's role one day. But Corey Graves is great. I don't think you could have gone wrong with either of the three that were the top three. I've had, Mauro Ranallo he's obviously on SmackDown for a reason, starting next, which they did not mention at all. They did show the commercials, but they didn't mention anything about SmackDown during this Raw. You've only got one more Raw till that SmackDown happens on USA. Kind of would have been important to start really talking about that, but this is WWE, I guess. Shouldn't expect anything that makes sense.
But it's only SmackDown. It's only SmackDown.
They're hey, if you're taking the time to bring a commentary team and do all this, you better, start making people want to watch that thing.
Yeah. It's true, and I think Mauro Ranallo will do it. I think he'll build the audience a little bit. People are going to be curious, and I think that he'll get some numbers. But it will be yet to be seen if they can hold the numbers.
I mean, what would we? I mean, we can't leave without mentioning Matt Striker and Vampiro. I mean, I think for a major part of the season, we had our negatives on Vampiro. He kind of grew on us until he became Emperor Palpatine of Lucha Underground at the end. But Matt Striker doing his thing. I mean, anything to say on that front?
I think what really works for Vampiro and Striker is that their style of commentary, I think, works for what Lucha Underground is all about. Vampiro, very much, I think, is just a portraiture of himself. Maybe a bit more throwing out more, street lingo and whatnot. But I think that's sort of the aura that Lucha Underground is trying to bring up, is this sort of rougher vibe. And Matt Striker, of course, brings his air of credibility to it. And I would have given the award to Rich Brennan and Corey Graves too. They're a dynamite team. I also want to. Kevin Kelly and Steve Corino, I think, do a dynamite job together.
Yeah, they
too.
got totally shafted in this, and they are awesome on ROH. I mean,
yeah.
Just for super
kicks and shots to the ding ding, and Kevin Kelly just not putting up with Corino's shit. I mean,
yeah.
And Mr. Wrestling 3 being in there too. That's
good times were had by all.
Yeah, crash and burn, all that stuff. It's great.
You gotta love it. So, some great commentary teams out there. You gotta be honest, and I think the group though chose the team that is the best for the 2015. So, let's move on to another category, and this category also involves people that are not wrestlers. This is the non-wrestler award of 2015. So, who deserves it, Sean, and who did it win?
Non-wrestler award went to Paul Heyman, if I'm not mistaken here, which this was one of the times where I will completely and utterly disagree with our people, which, they're wonderful and everything, and I don't want to, like, come off as a snob or anything, but I think this is one where they totally, this just comes off, this is one of those things where I think people still, it's always going to be WWE heavy, for the majority of an audience, and I can understand that, it's fine, but to me, Dario Cueto takes this award running away and, like, laughing to the bank and everything else. I mean, he is perhaps the most dynamic authority figure ever in the history of wrestling, as far as he doesn't just go after one guy. He doesn't just try to make one guy's life a living hell. He attacks everyone in the same cunning way, and he has various ways of doing that, depending on the situation, depending on the person. And that's what makes him awesome. And not to mention, he's pretty good at talking, and he's also just he's funny. Like, that's what I think being a natural actor brings to the stage, than not just being a wrestling promoter or just a former wrestler or something like that. I mean, not saying Paul Heyman's not great, because he is, but I don't know. To me, it's all about Dario Cueto.
I'm right there with you, Sean. I gave this to Dario Cueto as well. I don't think I could add any more to what you just say. Best authority figure by a mile we've seen since Evil McMahon. Just knocks it out of the ballpark the entire season of Lucha Underground, and I cannot wait for the next season.
I mean, he even has a monster brother that eats people's heads off. I mean, how can you beat that? Right,
you don't?
Yeah, as a fan of the horror genre and film, yes, I agree. How can you go wrong with a monster brother that he does eat people's heads off? See, no, I mean, I kind of can see where you're coming from, Sean, and I it's hard for me to disagree, and I just loved him. I thought he did an excellent job this year. I'm hoping that he continues it, and then in these following seasons of Lucha Underground. Paul Heyman is consistently great, and I get where everybody's decided that they feel like he deserves the non-wrestler award, but he wasn't always there, whereas Dario Cueto, he was a part of his whole season,
Right.
So to me that matters, and that's where I'm going to put my vote. So I think you're right on that one.
You also had votes for Lana in here. You had votes for Stephanie. You had votes for Truth Martini, who I think played more of a subdued role this year. He wasn't at the forefront as much as he has been in the past with the whole House of Truth and whatever. And I think William Regal is one of those that he didn't, he wasn't in your face all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But for what he does and the command that he brings when he comes out, and just the legitimacy that he brings to NXT, I think, should be commended. He's a quiet GM, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, and you can get away with that, and I'll even give Stephanie her props. I think she did a pretty good job this year. I really do. Despite the fact that people don't like her or per se for different reasons, I think she did a wonderful job. And if there's anyone that sold pretty well and did a great job cutting some promos, I think she did a wonderful. So I think you got to give her some credit as well. Let's go ahead and jump on to another award, and this one will be for the worst show of the year. And this one's interesting. I just got to know, who did they pick, Sean?
I think WWE Survivor Series wound up winning, which I remember that show being pretty bad. But I think there's no show that will touch Triple Mania 23. That show was terrible.
Oh, boy. I'm right there with you, Sean. That was That's a couple hours I want back.
From you guys, I watched this and I watched because you really wanted me to, and I did because I love those Lucha Underground guys. But then I watch this pay-per-view and then I see a bunch of clowns in one corner, and I'm terrified. I mean, I've already peed my pants, and I'm thinking, oh God, what is this about? And so it was tough. We got through it, but not happy about it.
Yeah, the TNA Bound for Glory and Slammiversary also got some votes, and WWE Hell in a Cell 2015, amazingly got some votes in there too.
Lockdown. I don't know. Maybe more than I would say. Bound for Glory. I think Bound for Glory was not perfect, but I mean the main event to me was pretty good. I enjoyed the main event, so I don't know exactly what people are talking about. I mean, I get it. Yes, EC3, Paul's personal friend, lost the match, but still, I mean, I don't know why you need.
I don't remember any of the TNA pay-per-views just being, something you need to go out there and watch.
No, I just don't
They
think
certainly weren't Triple Mania levels of badness, though.
No. No. So. I think we may have to.
Not to mention, Triple Mania just had all those freaking audio problems and everything else that was just
I forgot.
terrible.
I completely forgot about the audio problems. I mean, that wins alone.
Poor Matt Striker. I mean,
jeez, it is what it is, I guess. But so that is the worst show, everyone, in our personal opinion, Triple Mania. But that's okay. We all have our diverse opinions. Let's move on, though, to another word here. And let's move on to the biggest news item of the year. Now, there's been a lot of things go on this year, Sean. I mean, I'm really curious. Who did they pick?
This is one of those ones I'm going to have to stall for a little bit because I can't. Oh, here we go. I just found it. The death of Roddy Piper and Dusty Rhodes is the overall winner. Closest to that was the Hogan being fired from WWE for being racist.
Yeah, I mean, these are both big news topics. And the deaths of two of the biggest legends in wrestling history is a big deal. In 2015, that was a hard loss. I mean, the American Dream, just a legend through and through. He affected so many people in the wrestling business. Same with Roddy Piper, the biggest heel in years. I mean, he was voted at one time. He says himself that they voted him the biggest heel of all time. So, I mean, I'm sure the people will be controversial on that. They'll probably say other guys. But I think that is a pretty big news topic. And I can't say that they got this one wrong. Yes, the Hulk Hogan thing, that whole controversy was a big, big deal. But at the same point, I just don't think that people care as much about Hulk Hogan, whereas they care a lot about those two legends who passed.
What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I certainly think they nailed it as far as just big news. Both of those topics probably pretty worthy. The Hulk Hogan thing was a giant deal. It sort of came at a time when WWE was still using them to promote stuff, so that certainly sucked for them. I think just Dusty alone, his passing has way more effect than Roddy does. Not to take away from anything that Piper did. That's certainly a sad piece of news. But Dusty obviously still had a major hand in what was going on in WWE with his role in NXT. And just losing him that's gonna hurt for a while. I also want to give the nod to Lucha Underground getting season 2 and 3. Maybe not the biggest news, but certainly the piece of news that's probably made me happiest this year.
Yeah.
WWE Network getting over 1 million subscribers was pretty big because it's allowed them to have the shows that we have now that we quite enjoy are because of that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I talked about when we first talked about the network long time ago was that in order for us to get what we want, they're going to have to be successful. And then they're going to put up whatever they want to because it doesn't matter, right? They got what they wanted. People are buying it, so they're going to keep putting up content. And that's what we're getting now. It's great. I love hearing about how they continue to add Raws, they continue to add other things. It's a tremendous. And I forgot to do this. We didn't do this. I wanted to do it after they screwed it up on the Slammies. We didn't do this as an award. I was kind of busy today, but we only can pick one, guys. So we have to pick one. Your favorite actual WWE Network original show. No Stone Cold podcast, none of that. We're talking about original show.
It gotta be Breaking Ground.
Yeah, I'm with Paul on that. Breaking Ground has just been amazing. I mean, it has left me wanting more and more.
Yeah, Breaking Ground for me. Agreed. I gotta give them a hats off for Table for 3 though, because I didn't ever think we'd get something like that. And the fact that they just let them. I mean, look, sometimes it's a little contrived. At times, it feels like they could let them talk a little bit more, but for the most part, it's an enjoyable 30 minutes. That kind of just seems to go by really fast.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, and as much as I enjoy Table for 3, I mean, it is a blast. I mean, I think that it has its points, and it also has its times where it's not that it's uninteresting, but it's also do I like the people at the table? Do I really care what they have to say? Those kind of things. Whereas in Breaking Ground, it's telling these stories with these young careers, and it just draws you in. That's the only reason I think I would have to pick Breaking Ground over Table for 3. And I'll say this: there's one Table for 3 that I wanted to really enjoy, but it was hard for me to, and that was the one with the more of the modern day divas, with Natalya talking the entire time and not letting anyone else get a word in. Things like that kind of annoyed me, So that's the difference here.
We already know Natty likes to talk a lot.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, we could probably go on for that one for a little while, but
yeah. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we have one more category before we get into Wrestle Kingdom 10, and that'll be a lot of fun to hear Paul break that down with us, and we'll all kind of get an idea of what we think about that. But this last one we have here in the awards category for just this part. Well, this is not the last of the awards, but the last one we have before Wrestle Kingdom 10 talk. That is the most improved. And now there's been, several people out there that we have thought that has done a lot of good things this year and have grown. Who actually got this category?
It was Roman Reigns by a landslide. And I think it's almost one of those that's hard to argue with Roman Reigns really improving as far as in-ring wise. You could say that maybe his promos haven't totally improved, but at least they've gotten him away from the crappy storytelling, whatever, nursery rhyme stuff. So, but what do you guys think?
I think Reigns is somebody who has found his way much more recently, whether that be because of him finally finding something that he liked, or because creative found something that he liked, or maybe both. I'm giving this one to your boy, Gary, though. Tetsuya Naito, I think, totally deserves this award. Not only from taking his sort of maybe played out babyface role and turning it into this insanely over and insanely super popular heel role that he's in now as the leader of the Japanese contingent of Los Ingobernables. But, I mean, man, this guy is knocking it out of the ballpark right now, and is somebody who will be challenging for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship this next coming year.
And that is so exciting. I'm thrilled, just because I just think so much of Naito, and but it's tough. I mean, this is a really tough category, and I think Naito definitely deserves the nod. But Roman Reigns also has his points. I mean, he has kind of led himself down a path of improvement and progress, and I think that he's done a good job. It's hard for me not to be biased, though. I mean, I think I'm going to have to go with Naito just because I am a big fan.
Well, I was going to go with Naito too. Just you're looking at a guy that was just, we're going from one Wrestle Kingdom to the other here. He was going against AJ, and it was just a face against AJ, and then now it's like you watch the G1 and it's, oh my God, you're watching this guy transform and all of a sudden be this guy you can't stand, but you just really dig it from another perspective, and man, I wish more people would be able to watch New Japan and know all that, the history of what Naito's been through, but I think from what Roman Reigns has been through, all the hate and everything, and being somebody that you enjoy watching now, I think that says a lot. Some of the other ones, New Day got quite a few votes. Nikki Bella got votes again, which I think she won our Most Improved last year. So, the fact that she's still getting votes means she's continued to still improve. EC3, Baron Corbin, John Cena, and Rusev. So, those are guys that all got votes. I think John Cena obviously deserves a mention because who would ever thought coming into this year he would have. Obviously, it depends on, it's obviously the talent that he's in the ring with, but the fact that he stepped up his game that much that you could really count on every time John Cena was in the ring, it was going to be something you're going to want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
When would we ever have said that?
Yeah, you're right, and very rare. So, I think there's a few names on that list that you could definitely say, hey, I think that they deserve a nod, but really and honestly, the two standouts were the ones we mentioned earlier. So I think, I don't know that we overly got it right compared to everyone else, but I think that we all kind of equally had some good points. So. Well, guys, that is this part of the awards. We are going to have some more awards that will finish us out for those. But before we do, we are going to talk Wrestle Kingdom 10. That's right. We're looking forward to talking about this. And, of course, we are going to have a special show covering Wrestle Kingdom 10 this Monday night. So you don't want to, definitely check your podcast network that you listen to, whatever you do have, and find us on that. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We'll give you more information at the end of the show, but right now we are going to break down Wrestle Kingdom 10 right after this.
Hold on.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I have no earthly idea how old that is, but I thought that was pretty cool anyway. At one point was a Wrestle Kingdom theme. I have no idea which one it was from, but yeah. Well, Paul?
Yeah, I said it last year, boys. I'll say it again this year. Those who say that WrestleMania only comes once a year, they're lying to you. It comes twice a year. This is the other time it comes. New Wrestle Kingdom is New Japan's version of WrestleMania. It is a giant event. We got 10 matches on the card here, including their pre-show New Japan Rumble, which I don't know if you guys want to pick for, but it certainly mattered last year because this ended up getting Yuji Nagata that Intercontinental title match he had with Nakamura back in February of this year. But in that, you got Tenzin, you got Jado, you got Jushin Thunder Liger, you got Nakanishi, you got Taguchi, you got Satoshi Kojima, you got Tiger Mask, and you got Nagata once again. Pretty much a battle royal. Who you guys think comes out of this one with the Duke?
And just like last year, they wound up turning that thing into a ridiculous amount of surprises showing up. Guys that probably shouldn't be wrestling at this point, but they were still showing up in that thing. Man, jeez. I don't know. I'll say Tenzin. Why not?
Jado.
I'll go Kojima. Just for funsies, and I'm pretty sure that's how everybody voted there. So
yeah, exactly. I'm like, good luck on that one. I'll just throw it out there.
The first match that will actually open the main show is the 4-way tag team match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, tag team titles, excuse me. The champions Red Dragon defend against Matt Sydal and Ricochet, who won the Best of the Super Junior Tag League. Rapagni Vice, who have a victory over Red Dragon, which, as we have mentioned before on the show, is very, very rare. And the Young Bucks, who are the former champions and cashing in their rematch clause. So,
Rematch clause that doesn't usually exist in New Japan that they made for this one occasion here, suspiciously. But yeah.
I mean, you look at all these names, and you're guaranteed one thing, and that's some flippies, guys.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Look, these things never disappoint, and the fact that we don't have the GFW Wrestle Kingdom 9 problem where it was on TV and they had to rush and make sure it fit the 4-hour time slot. This show could go 5 hours, and particularly I don't care. I just hope that all the matches get time, and hopefully this match gets time to really go out there and deliver. You would think it would. I think Red Dragon's going to wind up retaining. With Ricochet, he's going to have to go back to do Lucha Underground eventually. Same thing, Matt Sydal, do his thing. They're the only other ones I could think of really taking the titles besides Red Dragon. I just don't see the point of Young Bucks having it again, or Roppongi Vice had their little cup of coffee with it. I just don't see it as their time right now.
Oh yeah, see, and Sean kind of talked me out of it because I really wanted to pick Ricochet, and then, I can't. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Red Dragon.
With the way that New Japan books these belts, I feel like the only safe bet that you could say here is that Sydal and Ricochet won't win it, and everybody else is really up for grabs. Because as much as me and Sean and Gary keep harping about wanting them to have some stability in this division, they seem to be wanting to go the other way. So I'm going to go with that idea, and as much as it disdains, I hate that idea. I really wish, maybe Red Dragon retains here, but I think they go with the Young Bucks. I think they throw the belts back on them for seemingly little to no reason.
Oh boy.
So, well, you're at least guaranteed some fun spots here, though. It's going to be a fun race. Probably about 15 minutes if I had to take a shot in the dark. So
yeah.
Following that, we have a 6-man tag team match for the newly created never open weight 6-man tag team titles. This is a first for New Japan. They've never had a 6-man tag title before. This is something that's sort of becoming popular everywhere else in the world. It's been a popular idea in Lucha for a while to have 6-man titles. Dragon Gate, for example, has a trios championship. In this match, though, you have Toru Yano teaming up with the Briscoe brothers, Jay and Mark, of Ring of Honor, to take on the Bullet Club contingent of Bad Luck Fale, Tama Tonga, and Yujiro Takahashi. I think the writing's pretty clear on the wall who's going to win this one, fellas, but let's break it down.
Actually, we say that it's clear on the wall, but they do have those New Japan ROH shows coming up. We have seen ROH talent win New Japan titles. In fact, again, we're talking about Red Dragon v Champions. I would not be surprised at all if the Briscoes and Yano win these titles. I'm telling you right now, bank it. I'm saying Yano and the Briscoes win these.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but part of me is on the fence. But I think what sways me. I
just don't have any faith in the Bullet Club B team. It's still the Bullet Club D team or whatever you want to call it. I mean,
you know how I feel about Bad Luck Fale, so.
There's no Cody Hall on this team to drag him down, Sean. But there is a Tama Tonga to lift these guys to the heavens, and by hook or by crook, I want to see Tama Tonga with a championship, and damn it, this is the opportunity.
I don't disagree with you. I personally, this one is one of those that, as just a person that cares about New Japan, I'd love to see Tama Tonga. I'd love to see Fale with titles or whatever. Even Yujiro, I guess Mal would care about him even more if he has a title around his waist, whatever. I mean, but it's to see Yano with a belt would be even more hilarious. So
This is a fair point. I'm still taking Bullet Club here, but like Sean said, they do have those matches coming up in February for Ring of Honor shows out there in Japan. So who knows? Who really knows? Man, we're following this up with another one that I think is pretty clear to call, but one that I don't know if I'm ready to let go of. Jay Lethal defends his Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title against Michael Elgin. This is going to be a great match for sure. I worry about crowd reaction here, but I'm sure Elgin's going to more than carry that. Who you guys got coming out of this one?
I think Elgin's in Japan. I think this is about him having his moment here. I think Elgin wins. The only thing I worry about is this is the biggest crowd they've ever performed in front of, and you do have to worry about maybe that getting to him a little bit. But other than that, hopefully they go out there and want to impress and not necessarily kind of play it safe or anything. But yeah, I would expect a really good match, and I would hope Michael Elgin wins here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Sean. I think that Elgin definitely deserves that shot and definitely deserves the ability to walk out of here a victor. To me, it makes the most sense. That's why I'm going to pick him.
Yeah, I called this earlier. I think this is tailor-made for Elgin to walk out with the championship. But I'm not ready to sail the boat on Lethal's title reign yet. I really hope he wins it back or something, because he's been so good with it. I'm not ready for that title reign to end.
I also know WWE's still been calling, supposedly. So.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten any update on how these guys' contracts are shaking out right now or anything, so...
Yeah, the only ones we've heard of is apparently Red Dragon are talking to ROH, but the other two we have not heard anything about. And
a lot of options up in the air. But yeah, surely Elgin's walking out of the dome with the championship. We've another title match. There's only one match on here that's not for a championship. Just to let everybody know. So
that's pretty awesome, though. Mm-hmm. I gotta say.
Originally one was Throwaway that's sort of been made to fit a title that they made, and then, the ROH World title getting an opportunity on this stage is a ginormous opportunity, for sure. And the other one has, even though it's not for a title, I think it has just as much meaning for both of these guys, but we'll get there. Right now, though, IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, Kenny Omega defends against Kushida. I'm pretty sure this is a whole match that was made just to give Kushida that big moment in the dome for him winning the belt. How do you guys see it?
I would hope so. Look, Kenny Omega is great. I'm not gonna if anything that little video on Twitter with him and Xavier Woods showed is that Kenny Omega is fantastic. He can work anywhere. And him and Kushida have had fantastic matches, together. And I hope this is another one of those. It certainly can be. Obviously, they already hit a pretty high ceiling, so this is going to have to really be up there to be able to hit that. But I hope what Paul said is right. I hope that this means Kushida is just going to get his big moment at Wrestle Kingdom. But we've seen guys have big moments at Wrestle Kingdom and with other titles, and they lose them the next month. So that's the thing. I just really hope that it means something, and hopefully that means Kushida wins.
Yeah, to me, this is really tough because I could definitely see Kenny Omega walking away as the victor here, but. Oh man, Kushida's had such a great year, and he's done a lot of great things, and I just want that momentum to carry on. It's hard for me to believe that it could stop, this soon. So I'm going to Kushida.
I completely agree. Hopefully this is him getting a reign that's actually going to have some length to it. That'll get some more defenses under him. Clearly, there's a lot of outsiders they could bring in to face Kushida if they want to go that route. Just have him defend the belt against these high quality opponents and really make him into their cornerstone guy. So yeah, we're gonna follow that up with the tag team match for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. Bullet Club, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson defend against the winners of the G1 Tag Climax, Togi Makabe and Hanma and the Great Bash Heel contingent. I'm hoping for a title change here, guys. What do you think?
Oh man, there's got to be a title change here. I mean, you've got the two Japanese TV kings and Hanma and Makabe, uh, who, Gary, you probably don't know, but both of them actually have their own shows in Japan that they appear on.
Oh, wow.
So, they are celebrities in their own right by themselves, and going against Bullet Club members, and just the story. It's got to have this happy ending with Hanma. I mean, you haven't get all the way here. I mean, I guess it would be a Hanma thing to lose right when it matters the most, but man, you gotta let him have that moment. You gotta let him go through and win. And I mean, what a great moment it would be. They've already done a great thing of it, telling this emotional story with him. You gotta cap it off.
Yeah, I agree. You've got to, and you've got to make it special. And I think it's just a perfect opportunity. You guys just said it. It's a perfect story, and it's a perfect opportunity to get it.
It's the only way to me that it makes sense to have Guns and Gallows keep the titles for this long.
Mm-hmm.
That you have these champions that have had the titles for so long now, and it looks like nobody can beat them. And then here comes this wave of Hanma, and I mean, other than when Mayutag beat them last year at Wrestle Kingdom, but since then they've had them, and you say, okay, Hanma and Makabe are going to come in and do it.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's a fresh team as well. Hanma certainly deserves the moment, and Makabe's been solid for New Japan for the last 10 years, so certainly not a bad guy to get some more gold around his waist either. This next match is one I'm superbly interested in, as Hiroki Goto takes on Tetsuya Naito. Naito certainly needs the win here, I feel. Deserves the win. Goto's the perfect guy, I think, to put him over, but this should be an amazing match.
I really hope so. Man, I'm a big fan of both these guys, so it's hard for me to really say I want one to win over the other, but definitely agree with what Paul said here, that Naito needs this propeller to move on to bigger things. Goto's kind of in that mold of, I mean, is he going to really move up any more than he already has? And I think, they've done well telling the story. We're going to have Naito go on with it.
Yeah, I how can I go against my boy Naito? I mean, that's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. I don't care if he's the way underdog. So that's only that's the only answer you're getting from me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to take an act of God to keep Naito from winning this match.
Don't tempt him, Sean. Don't tempt Paul. Don't tempt him.
The top three belts are on the line. These next three matches. Tomohiro Ishii defends the never openweight title against Katsuyori Shibata. This one has another title change written all over it. Shibata is fresh blood, another guy that can fit that hard-hitting mold that they've sort of forged for the never openweight title. So I'm picking Shibata here.
Hey, a lot of us thought Bushi was going to do that, and you have to wonder if they're finally going to be over this whole thing with Shibata leaving and all that. I mean, I guess this will prove it, right? If he's finally redeemed himself. I do worry about that. Are they going to try to tell a bigger story here, or are they going to let him have his crowning moment? Either way, this match should be fantastic. Talk about two guys going to go out there and beat the living shit out of each other. I worry for someone coming out with something after this match is over, because we know these two hit hard. They keep hitting no matter what. I mean, this could turn into one heck of a match for sure.
Yeah, and despite it being a great match, I just it makes you wonder how they're going to decide to go. And I think Paul's onto something. But you know what? I just to be different, I think I'll go with Ishii.
Oh, that's fair. This next match features two guys who have never been in the ring together one-on-one. AJ Styles goes after Shinsuke Nakamura and his Intercontinental title. Both of these guys have been hurt recently. AJ, however, looked like his back injury was nothing in his match with Jay Lethal at Final Battle a few weeks ago. So hopefully both of these guys come out here. They're on the big stage. They're going to deliver something that's going to make you, hopefully, drop your jaw. And just, yeah, I don't know who to pick here. So who do you guys got?
I'm going to say AJ because Nakamura holding the title for another however many long months or whatever is not going to mean anything. AJ has been IWGP champion before, so him getting to hold that belt and kind of go against some of the upper mid card guys, I think would provide fresh matchups for AJ. While maybe you let Nakamura go off and get his world title opportunity, or I don't know what you do with that, but I just think that there's a lot here if AJ wins.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty much on the same boat. I just think that AJ has a great opportunity here. I just really do. I think he's going to find a way to be victorious in this one. So I think I'm going to. It's just by an edge though, because I think it'll be a good match. But I think AJ finds a way.
I think that this match depends largely on where we're going with our main event story here. Okada and Tanahashi obviously had their big year-long feud that's led to this. Where they find themselves in the switch position here with Okada having the belt coming in to take on Tanahashi. We've said it many times on this show where we're waiting for Nakamura to move up and get back in that heavyweight title run. But New Japan just seems content to let him keep the 1A Intercontinental Championship option here afloat and really let him shine in that spot. And I don't know if they're ready to sail the boat on Tanahashi yet, because the end of his last year here has been phenomenal, and I just don't know. I'm going to say Nakamura retains here. I really am. Yeah.
They have had. Obviously you kind of know what's going to happen in the main event, so. And we've already predicted a bunch of title changes before, so it could be one of these where, you do have a title, the whole thing with the title staying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, might as well, the main event, Okada is defending that IWGP Heavyweight title against Tanahashi in a rematch from last year's Wrestle Kingdom 9 main event. This will be the 7th time these guys have faced each other for the belt in the main event of a show. The long story here, Okada obviously broke down at the end of their match last year, having failed to prove that he's the new ace. Tanahashi's still in that role, and man, now Tanahashi's looking to win that title back here against Okada.
Yeah, this story has been wonderfully told. They did a great job at Power Struggle of really turning this up to 11 as well. So I'm really pumped for this. I know this is something that a lot of people were vehemently against and all that, but I think this is going to completely deliver. And they set a huge bar for themselves last year. This is going to take a whole lot to try to, hit that level again.
Yeah, it is, and it's going to be exciting to watch. But it's to me this could go either way. I understand you guys kind of summed it up, but Okada. I got to go with him.
I think Okada wins here no matter what. I don't know if this story is over here or not. I really don't know. And I think that's just going to be so
Don't
important.
scare me like that, Paul.
Yeah.
I don't like because there's this weird holding pattern that New Japan continues to stick to. That I mean, the stuff they're putting out is great, but it's same stuff. And that's I mean, the Okada Tanahashi story, as you said, Sean, has been spectacular. Not only because these two have been sort of inadvertently butting heads, but they've all had their own storylines going through. Their individual storylines that went through this previous year, with Okada having to go through the Bullet Club once again, Tanahashi sort of working his way through the G1 once again, and it's just an amazing story. But what if they're not done? What if they're not done yet, guys? It's just
Wow.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. Man. So.
And that's your Wrestle Kingdom 10 card. It goes down on the 4th. I'm assuming it's going to be like early morning here when that show goes live.
It's 3 a.m. Eastern time, so 2 a.m. for you guys. Midnight Pacific, so you people that live in the West Coast could probably just stay up and watch most of it. But I will go ahead and say this is probably going to be a 5-hour thing. So if you get up at like 3 a.m. and think you're going to be done before work, be prepared to probably be disappointed by that. Just letting you know that. But yeah, I mean, this does have English commentary. So Matt Striker, Kevin Kelly doing the honors again. So no excuse this time for people that I can't listen to it in Japanese. Well, you got English people.
Yeah.
Gary, you can now listen to Striker and Kevin Kelly. Are you going to be joining us? You've been missing out on some of the last few.
Yeah, I definitely plan on being there. I really do. So, unless any other circumstances come up, I really want to be a part of this. Wrestle Kingdom is a blast, and I don't want to miss it myself. So, if I miss it, it's because of other circumstances and not because I don't want to do it. So, we'll see. But I plan on being on there. So,
I don't know if this means anything. It could just be that, again, it's because it's also in Tokyo and whatever. They have like a little show that they have. It's like a glorified house show that they always do the day after Wrestle Kingdom called New Year's Dash. That also has English commentary. I don't know if that's going to be a new thing for a lot of the big shows this year, or it's just because, again, it's just something happens the next day and they already had them there. But yeah, let's. I mean, it could be interesting to see if they do this for a lot of the big events now, if they all are going to have English commentary or not.
mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, I think it's a smart decision, especially for those fans who just, like you said, Sean, can't sit through it if they don't understand what the commentators are saying, which, to me, it's not that big a deal, but to some people it matters. So, well, guys, let's move on. We have some more awards to give out, and that is going to be 5 exactly. So this will kind of round out the show. And these awards are big. We've saved the biggest and best for last. So let's go ahead and start this thing off. And we are going to find out who won the best show of 2015. Now, that's going to be pretty interesting because we did have some pretty good shows out there. But, Sean, who won?
Well, the show that won was NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. I'm trying to figure out the amount right now while we're going over. It did win over Wrestle Kingdom 9. It won over the Dominion 7-5, which is another terrific show by New Japan. Man, I'm just completely missing it, I think. No, that's not it either. Oh, here we go. Okay, so, yeah, it won over Wrestle Kingdom 9. It won over Ultima Lucha. Yeah, over Dominion 7-5, over WrestleMania 31. There were other great shows, obviously. But, I mean, obviously, people are going to remember the one match of Sasha and Bayley. But I can't. There's no way I can put that over a Wrestle Kingdom 9 that had 5 great matches, a Dominion that had 3 Match of the Year candidates on it. I mean, Ultima Lucha that was also fantastic at its own right. I mean, agree with me, Paul? I mean, it's just, you know.
I'm trying to remember what we scored the shows as. And I remember Brooklyn being a 9 for me, and I think I remember giving Wrestle Kingdom 9 a 9 as well.
I think you gave Dominion like a 9.5, possibly.
I think I gave Dominion a 9.5. So I think just by that I'm going to go with Dominion. But all three of those were just super strong shows. Brooklyn Takeover Special really hasn't disappointed this year, but Brooklyn especially was incredible just for the atmosphere. They sold out the Barclays Center for it, and that's 16,000 plus packing that arena. And there's not a match on that show. I think that was below 3 stars. You look at Wrestle Kingdom 9, where the two main events were both Match of the Year candidates. And as we said, Dominion had 3 in the junior heavyweight title match with Kushida and Kenny Omega, the Intercontinental title match with Goto and Nakamura, and then AJ Styles and Okada having that incredible match for the IWGP heavyweight title. But I'm going Dominion.
Yeah, I think Dominion was pretty good, but man, it's hard for me to go against Wrestle Kingdom 9. It really, really is. I've just thoroughly enjoyed that show last year, and so I mean, it's difficult, but that would probably be my choice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Wrestle Kingdom 9 as well, but I'm not taking anything away from the fandom here voting for Takeover Brooklyn. It's certainly a great show in its own right, but gotta go with Wrestle Kingdom 9 here.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, that is the best show, but man, now we've got to figure out who voted for this. This is really, really cool. The next one though is the promotion of 2015. So, what promotion won, Sean?
NXT won big time, and that nobody would be wrong in that. I think the NXT's takeover specials delivered. There wasn't a bad one this year that I can remember. NXT, for the most part, as a show, there were obviously some good shows. And it has a whole year to go up against. For me, though, it's difficult because, obviously New Japan has consistently been great. There's been a lot of events that, but that's the thing with NXT, is different. They don't have a monthly event every time like New Japan does. So I'm going to use another promotion to compare it to, which is, for me, Lucha Underground. I think Lucha Underground consistently every week brought something to the table that made me want to keep watching it. It was thoroughly entertaining for various different reasons. You cared about all the characters. I just feel like Lucha Underground to me was the promotion of the year.
It's hard for me to go with Lucha Underground as much as I love it. It's only because they had that year, that little break in between that sort of separated them out across the 2014 into 2015. New Japan, incredibly solid all the way through the year. NXT, amazing. I'd count NXT still as WWE though, even though it's treated as its own promotion. So that sort of factors in for me personally. And there's a lot of other great promotions out there that had spectacular years that we don't cover on this podcast, but I feel like are worth mentioning. PWG, Evolve, Dragon Gate over in Japan, Stardom over also in Japan, all had spectacular years, and really worth mentioning. But I'm going New Japan. Every time we watched the show, I wasn't really disappointed. I think a fair bit of my match of the year candidates came from New Japan this year. I think my match of the year winner is from New Japan. It's another incredible. As much as things stayed the same, it's still great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Match of the year is a category that to me is very, very difficult, and I look at it and I try to figure it out, and every time it's hard. What all do we have in this category, Sean?
What did you pick a promotion of the year, Gary? You didn't.
Oh, I'm
pick
sorry. I was kind of going off of Paul. Yeah, I've got to go NXT. I think I'm with the rest of the group. I love Lucha Underground, and I think Lucha Underground has a ton going for it. But to me, just right now, week in and week out, I mean, I just thoroughly enjoy NXT. And not only that, it does run a little longer. They have a little bit more task ahead of them, if you ask me, because they are, a group that we've also seen go live. And their takeover shows, and of course in anything they do, they've just progressively just done a great job, and they haven't slowed down. So I've got to go NXT, but it's tough because I love Lucha Underground. I do. So all right, well, let's go ahead and talk match of the year, guys. There's a lot of ones we've talked about, and I know Paul has kept close tabs on this category, and I know he kind of gave you some little bit of tidbit right there. But we've got to find out what the group picked. What did the group pick as match of the year?
Well, the group picked Sasha Banks and Bayley from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, which would go on with why they picked NXT TakeOver Brooklyn as the show of the year. Sasha and Bayley was obviously a fantastic match. I'm not taking anything away from that at all. It's so hard for me to not point back to the trio of matches at Dominion, the two main events at Wrestle Kingdom 9, the Ishii and Honma from New Beginning, even the Ishii and Honma from Power Struggle, which apparently, according to Meltzer, is even rated higher than the one at Sendai. The Nakamura Tanahashi from the G1 Climax Finals. I mean, there's so much there. That's just a fraction. Okay. I could go on. Kushida and Kyle O'Reilly. I think once you get into a few other things, you can start comparing Sasha and Bayley to some of the other ones, maybe. But man, there's just a lot in front of it for me. And I hate to say that it's not a gender bias thing at all. I think maybe that's what some people are remembering. Sasha and Bayley was the only match that brought me to tears this year, and I will give it that. But the emotion, I felt emotional things watching Nakamura and Ibushi. I felt that same thing watching Tanahashi and Okada. Same thing watching the G1 Climax Final. And especially the Ishii and Honda match from New Beginning. My lord, I felt so bad for. That's one of those you felt like, oh my God, Honda, you deserve to win, and he doesn't. But what do you think, Paul?
So, as Gary said, I kept a close track of this list all year. By the end of it, I have 26 matches on my list. But you mentioned a lot of them from the New Japan guys. Rollins, Cena, and Lesnar was one you missed from Royal Rumble. Owens and Zayn from TakeOver Rival was one I have on here. A fair few Lucha Underground matches made on it. Phoenix and Prince Puma, which was one of Phoenix's first title defenses for the Lucha Underground title back in January. Owens
Phoenix and Mil Muertos, the Grave Consequences.
Yeah, which is probably Lucha Underground's best match to date. I also have the All Night Lucha between Johnny Mundo and Puma as well on here. Finn Balor and Kevin Owens at Beast in the East. Sasha and Bayley, which is as worthy. If you've only watched WWE, that's totally their match of the year. Just Bayley's culmination in that night made that whole match, and the whole match was well worked as well. But the culmination of that moment was magical. I never saw a match that made me jump out of my seat more or kept me on the edge of my seat more than Ishii and Hanma back at New Beginning in Sendai. Two guys went out there in a filler spot after Maccabi came down with the bird flu, had to vacate the title. These two guys just beat the bejesus out of each other for 30 minutes, and I'm pretty sure, established that never openweight title as something worth fighting over that fiercely. And I just, hats off to those two guys. There wasn't a match this year that just made me think that was better than that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys make some good points, and I do agree. Those are definitely high candidates for me personally. I'm sorry, I just got to go back to the Sasha Banks and Bayley match. I mean, to me, it was just everything that was needed. It really was the birth of recognition of what the Divas can do in this young generation. I
think Sasha, Becky Lynch. From earlier in the year.
You think so?
What started that? Yeah.
Okay, but to me, I mean, I just think it. Maybe people didn't give it credit. I don't know. I just think this one's bigger.
I mean, let's be fair. Sasha and Bayley was their standout match of this year.
Yeah.
Sasha and Becky was close.
Yeah, it was close. I mean, I agree on the point of it being the beginning, but maybe this is where more people understood it. Whereas that match, maybe not everybody got that. So, but it's tough.
Iron Man that they had, the next time later wasn't too bad either.
Exactly. So I mean, we got a lot. I mean, like Paul had 26 on his list. So those are a lot of big matches, a lot of important ones, and you can only choose one.
Yeah, and if we weren't including stuff that would just count stuff that we cover, my God.
I don't even want to imagine how big this list would have been.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Bola and Evolve shows and
Chikara would probably
Dragon
have
Gate and Stardom has some awesome ones.
Yeah, definitely. So, we have two final awards to give away, and these are going to be big because they are, of course, involving Wrestler of the Year. But we will start with the Female Wrestler of the Year, and this one is really interesting. So, Sean, I got to know, what did the group choose?
This was probably our closest one. Of all of them, Sasha beat Bayley by 2 votes. I think you could have given it to either one, but Sasha Banks, I think if you throw in that, she had that match with Becky Lynch, that includes 3 fantastic matches just from takeovers, including the 2 with Bayley.
They had the 4-way at Unstoppable too, didn't they?
They had the 4-way. I just think that 4-way gets a little bit, I've rewatched that 4-way and I think it gets overhyped a little bit sometimes. It's when you compare it against the singles matches, it's not as great, but it's still pretty good. But yeah, I just think that's why Sasha, I think her overall body of work, and if, it counts for itself. But that's not saying that Bayley doesn't deserve to be that close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Sasha's the right choice. I think Bayley is right up there with her. It's tough. It is very difficult. But I mean, Sasha Banks moving to the main roster, may not have been blowing people out of the water on the main roster, but she's doing a good job. I don't think that she's doing bad at all. And I think her work in NXT is just excellent. So,
and I think if you also throw in the character work from Sasha, that kind of puts it over the top there too.
Yeah,
I love Sasha Banks from here to the moon. She's a wonderful talent. She was the most complete package in NXT for a long time. Female Wrestler of the Year, though, I got to go with Bayley. The story they crafted around her leading into that Brooklyn match and everything since then, and even before that, just draws you into that character, draws you into her as a person, especially, the breaking ground stuff. I gave mine to Bayley, but the fans and all of you guys, they got it right. Just either way, you're good. But for me, I think I just got to give it to Bayley.
It's so difficult. It really, really is. I mean, this is the toughest thing to do because, I mean, there's a lot of people that deserve credit for a great job in 2015. But once again, you can only go with one. So, that leads us to the next category and the last category. So let's go ahead and talk about Best Male Wrestler of the Year. And Sean, who's our winner?
Seth Rollins, by quite a few votes, by about 6 or 7 over AJ Styles. And then Finn, I think, is the next closest, and that's not close at all. You have, a vote apiece for Kevin Owens or John Cena, Jay Lethal, EC3, this whole list that I had on here, and there's so many other ones, are certainly worthy. But I don't think they're wrong in picking Rollins. He has had a year that includes quite a few matches. He had the surprise at WrestleMania. He held the title until he was injured. I mean, he really carried WWE for, that whole part of the year where he was there. I mean, AJ's had fantastic matches, New Japan, throughout the year. Kevin Owens had those moments with John Cena that made him stand out, and then he had his matches in NXT as well, Finn Balor too. I mean, I think John Cena should have gotten more votes, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think John Cena was cut short because he's John Cena, but no one to me has. This is why I also thought he should have gotten more votes for the most improved, because no one to me has grown from leaps and bounds as far as in-ring work and just like making you every time he has a match, especially the one that was part of that U.S. title open challenge, you're like, how the hell does he keep topping this? I mean, yeah, again, it's because of the people he's working with, but it just seemed like every time he was constantly outdoing it there. But what do you guys think?
This is an insanely difficult award. When you look at WWE, you have got Cena, you have Rollins. When you look at TNA, you have EC3, who's really carried that promotion this entire year, and that's certainly something that deserves to be awarded. You look at Ring of Honor, you have Jay Lethal, who had his penultimate crowning here at Best in the World when he captured the world title to be a dual champion, and he really carried the promotion this year as well.
And Roderick Strong too, he had lots of good matches as well.
And not just in Ring of Honor, all over the U.S. and Evolve and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and just the guy had so many more Match of the Year candidates outside of what we even covered. That it's almost silly. You look at AJ Styles, who also stepped forward, had another IWGP title run in New Japan this year. A fantastic run in Ring of Honor as well. You look at Lucha Underground, who despite not running for the full year, you still have Ricochet as Prince Puma. You still have Phoenix, Mil Muertes. I think you could give the nod to even. Just so many. Tanahashi certainly held his own, and I think was in that John Cena role as well. Which great match after great match. Overall, as I tried to argue myself out of this, I just couldn't step away from Seth Rollins. The crowning achievement at WrestleMania, carrying the biggest company on his shoulders in a largely untested role for him, and just knocked it out of the ballpark. And I really wanted to give this to Jay Lethal. I really, really did. But it's Seth Rollins all the way.
I think everybody that Paul just mentioned, very, very worthy of this award. I mean, this is picking a needle out of a haystack to give one guy this award over the other. It really, really is. And I'm looking at guys, AJ Styles. I mean, he just sticks out in my mind. John Cena, like Sean said a while ago. I mean, this guy worked his butt off and helped so many other people kind of get over this year, and that's an excellent job by him. Jay Lethal, I mean, my God, holding 2 titles for majority of the year, a big deal, very, very big deal. But I can't get past Seth Rollins either, Paul. I just can't, because not only did he win the title at WrestleMania, but he also, I mean, just progressed as a character. He was a giant heel. People, just bought into him being that way, and I just think that he overall did such a great job, and he had so many great matches. How can you not look at him and say, man, this guy took it, and he's on the biggest stage in wrestling. Seth Rollins has got to be the guy. So.
I left out Kota Ibushi, who had several Match of the Year candidates, not only in New Japan, but in DDT, and Kushida, who I have on here 3 times for Match of the Year as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kushida is definitely one that I would look at, too, because I loved Kushida's work this year. Oh, my God. I mean, just excellent.
Oh, this is so hard. For me, just... I wanted to give it to several people as well, but I think I gotta want to give it to Rollins. I think when you're talking about a guy that we know what he can do in ring, but I think he improved so much character-wise. He improved so much promo-wise, all that. I mean, if you're talking about a most outstanding or something like that, where it's just in ring, maybe you don't give it to Rollins, but for everything involved. What he had to do this year, I think Rollins takes it. But man, there's just so many you could have picked.
Definitely. And and saying that, I mean, for all these awards we did tonight, I mean, there were so many worthy winners. It's just, you've got to boil it down to one, and that is very difficult because there's so many, different matches, promotions, wrestlers that all have put a lot of work into it, have done a lot of great things this year. And just really, basically, made our life hard when it came to voting. But that's a positive thing, guys. That's an excellent thing. And as much as, we do have struggles through WWE, that's why we love to cover these other promotions, because there's so much great things coming out of other promotions besides just WWE and even NXT. I mean, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and of course, even TNA has some moments there, here and there. And of course, Lucha Underground, you don't want to forget them. Just excellent work. So, this has been a fun 2015 awards. It really has. And I think we got some great winners here. We can definitely hang our hat on them. And next year, I think we're going to be doing even bigger award show. Like Sean said, I mean, really, honestly, some people may be listening to the votes and say, well, only that many people voted. We really legitimately didn't put the polls out for very long this time. We really didn't have them out for a long period of time. Next year, we might actually do that. We'll, see how that comes when that, time period does arrive. But this is, a sample size that probably could have been larger, but I'm very proud of the sample size. And thank you for voting if you did vote. And if you didn't, hey, that's okay. I mean, we want to hear what you think. If you disagree with us on any category or you agree with us, hey, hit us up on the Facebook page. Let us know what you think and who your winners are compared to ours. And not only that, hey, we'd love to hear from you about anything else you like or dislike from the show this week. We just, we love to hear feedback and just to get a chance to hear what you have to say. And that also leads me to let you guys know to always remember, hey, if you're listening to the show and you haven't rated or reviewed the show yet, you need to go do that. That helps us out, and it also helps you out because we get to know exactly what you're wanting in a show. And so that's going to help all of us in general. So great stuff, and we really appreciate everybody who's joined us this week.
And even more, if you listen through one of the websites or you listen through Spreaker or something like that, going to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or one of these other places helps a ton because if you're subscribing, it shows up in iTunes and it lets them know that the show is being listened to by people. I think more than reviews, which reviews are also region specific. So if you live in the UK, you live in Australia, whatever, we can't see that unless you show that to us. So, for one, I want to say thank you to everybody. That's whether you listen one time, you listen to every week, you listen to every single show. Thank you so much for making 2015 an awesome year for us. Hopefully you learned something this year. Hopefully you were able to start watching. Not that that's our goal. I want to point that out. It's not like we do this because it's for us mainly because we want to be, Gary and I started this and it was only, I think we only covered like TNA sometimes and it was mostly the, SmackDown and NXT or whatever. And, adding Paul and doing all this, we've gotten to grow the show and make it more diverse. And that's what we want it to be. We want it to be able to be diverse for you guys so that everybody has something that they can enjoy and say, I may not like WWE, but I can watch this or I can watch that. I mean, I've loved the fact that we've gotten people that have become New Japan fans from listening to us, people that have started to watch ROH because we covered it, hopefully, I mean, I'm gonna come out with a survey here pretty soon. If you guys, I mean, look, this becomes obviously very taxing for us to cover, to watch all this stuff, but if there's other things that you want us to cover more on a special basis, make your voice be heard. We can try to do it. But obviously all these things we cover because we have easy access to them. Too, we have to note that. But yeah, just.
Well, definitely, and I'm looking forward to the survey. And we do this every year, and Sean does a great job at it. And we've got to, improve. We know that we love improving the show. We've, like Sean said, we're leap and bounds from where we were earlier when this show's history, and so that's exciting. We want to continue to grow, continue to be better as a show, and so we are going to continue to do it, and we want your help. We don't want to do this by ourselves. You're a part of this just as much as we are, so we definitely appreciate any feedback you can give us. Be looking out for that, definitely, and that survey should be out very, very soon. And also we want to let you know that, hey, there is a network that we are on, the W2M Network, and it is great. We want you to go check it out. Hey, also subscribe to that. There's other shows out there that me and Sean do. We do Football to Football, which is a great sports show. Of course, cover all the NFL news, all the NFL games, review them, preview them. Of course, we're getting close to the playoffs, so that'll be a lot of fun, and you'll get a chance to hear us kind of give you our ideas on that, along with Randy Isabel. And also, there's some other shows on there. We've added Wrestling Unwrapped. That's right. We announced that a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Harry Broadhurst did himself, and love to, let everybody know that show's coming out very soon. January 3rd is the air date for their first episode coming on to the W2M Network.
So this Sunday.
Yeah. So you don't want to miss that. Like I said, it's taxing to have to go in your podcast source and sit there and type in all these different ones and keep up. Just go to the W2M Network, subscribe to the network, and you're going to have them all at your fingertips, including this show, along with some other shows that we have on the network.
Yeah, and Randy's retro video game review podcast, Backlog Busting's coming and starting in January as well. That one's going to be uploaded. It's not going to be live on here, but yeah, and if you want to go ahead and they have their own iTunes and all that stuff, if you want to go ahead and listen to see what they discuss, it's a pretty good show. And we're obviously looking to add more as the time goes on. If you got whether it's people that are in our Facebook group that we know intimately well, or people that listen from afar and don't ever say anything, if you guys have a show and it's good, we don't have a problem adding it to the network, whether it be via upload or via you want to be on it where you're live just like we are right now. So we're open to that. You can hit me up on Twitter at the Wrestling 2Max or at W2M Network Twitter, or send us an email. Send my personal email, s.garmer@gmail.com, or the rest of the Max email, whatever, Always open to taking suggestions and talking with you guys about things.
Definitely. So we want you to go check that out, and don't forget about going and checking out those other shows coming up. Next week we're going to have a big show. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to do our first book review. Sean is going to break down the New Japan book. What's the actual title? I forget.
It's called Lion's Pride. Hopefully I can get it read. I might even get it read by Monday. It's just I've worked every single day. I wanted to get it done by today, but I've worked every single day. Tomorrow's my first day off since Christmas, and I really haven't had a lot of time to do. Been doing these awards, been doing all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully by next week. I don't know if you've gotten to read any of it, Paul, or anything, but
I've actually had the past 3 days off. I finished it today.
oh, sweet. All
Yeah,
right,
there you go.
I'll get Paul's opinion in there too.
Sure. And I'll read some of it as well, and we'll like I said, break it down and really get a chance to see what this book's about, and hopefully encourage everybody else out there to go get the book, because it's so far from what I've seen of it, it's pretty good. But definitely wanted to remember that'll be next week. We'll let you know what show that'll be on. We're actually going to be airing twice next week, because we are going to be covering Wrestle Kingdom 10. That's right, Monday night. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be covering that. We're also going to have Tom on here covering it with us, because he's our New Japan guy. We love him to death, and we're excited that he's going to be on the show with us. And then, of course, next Thursday we're back to our regular scheduled programming on Thursday nights, barring anything that any incidents or anything. So that'll be great. We'll have a double shot of Wrestling to the Max next week for you guys, and it'll be a lot of fun.
TNA on Pop TV. ROH should be back to ROH and NXT should be back to normal. We have the first Raw of the new year. Lots of stuff to look forward to there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So, besides that, guys, I think that pretty much covers everything. I don't think we do, Sean. No more plugs, right? Nothing else you want to get out there, correct? Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we want to thank you for checking us out tonight. We want to wish you all a happy, happy New Year. I got to say, please be safe, be smart, make sure if you're partying a little hard, maybe you stay the night somewhere close. You let somebody else drive you home. There's taxis, there's Uber, and hey, there's friends that are sober. You can always do that, and make sure you can have a good time, but just be smart, please. We want everybody to come back, and we want to be there too. So, all right, guys. Well, that's our show. We, once again, thank you for listening. But next week we'll see you then. And always remember, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.